Chapter 151, All of You Stand Out. Chapter 151, All of You Stand Out. Yimo looked at the person talking to him. That person was less than 40 and had a waxy face. He had a very bizarre styled long sword. The blade wasn't long, but it was shining black, which didn't match its owner's waxy yellow face. This person should be a lot stronger than Hu Qiu. Although he was not as strong as Wu Qiong, he should be on the same level as Zhongju. Yimo didn't expect there to be such a master at the Yi family mansion. According to his experience, this person was a tertiary stage yellow-level martial artist. If Yimo was still stage 2 Kai gathering, then he wouldn't even think before leaving. He wouldn't be able to leave unscathed even by himself, much less with Yi Ling on his back. But now, he was at the stage 3 Kai gathering. Wu Qiong couldn't even last 20 moves from him, and this guy was weaker than Wu Qiong. Yimo was still wondering whether or not to kill him when this man's long sword howled towards his waist. As that man struck, there wasn't any hesitation, as though he wanted to cut Yimo in half. Although it was just one swing, what came into his eyes were tens of blades. Even Hu Qiu's whip prowess was a lot lesser than this man's sword skills. The speed and transformations on this swing was indeed a rare scene. To be this good at the sword, one not only needed to practice rare techniques, but they also need a certain amount of inner qi. Yimo knew that the sword wasn't going to cut his waist but rather his legs. That man probably saw him attack, so he judged that Yimo would be able to dodge this swing. Then, his killing blow would be a ground-sweeping cut. Before the swing finished, he focused all his power into his lower body and also started to squat. Yimo saw this subtle change. No matter where he landed, as long as he was within 10 meters radius, he would lose his legs. Of course, if he couldn't even dodge the first swing, he would lose his waist. It seemed that he was pretty faithful in Yimo dodging the first swing and then cutting off his legs with the second swing. Yimo sneered. There really was no challenge in fighting someone a few calibers lower than him. Each move of the opponent was in his prediction. Despite having Yi Ling on his back, Yimo twisted his waist slightly and the tens of blade shadows were dodged. Of course, as soon as this man saw Yimo dodged his swing, he was happy instead. His blade didn't stop for a moment before switching to an arc swing from the ground. Under the dim yellow light, this swing was like mercury spill that covered a 7-meter radius. He sneered. No matter how strong Yimo was, as long as he landed, he could cut off Yimo's legs. Yimo was able to not land. Even if he carried Yi Ling, he was able to use his wind-controlling art and glide to more than 10 meters out before landing. As such, the moment when his foot landed, the silver on the ground disappeared, leaving a long sword that was stepped under his foot. The man's sneering face froze. He never had expected that someone could break his move using such unimaginable ways. Under shock, the man immediately reacted. The sword in his hand twisted in an attempt to pull the sword from under Yimo's foot. Yimo felt an intriguingly strong force from under his foot. Just when he wanted to use more force, the sword had broken into 2 segments. The man held the half of the sword and, without hesitation, the long sword turned into a glimmer that struck towards Yimo's stomach. Meanwhile, he followed behind the hilt of the sword as his 2 hands turned into shadows attacking towards Yimo's chest. Yimo didn't expect this person to be so good at long sword and fists. As the sword was about to hit Yimo's stomach, he raised his foot and kicked the sword flying. Then, with a single fist, he punched the man's fist shadows. Bang! Bang! The clash of fists and palms echoed out. Crack! Yimo didn't hold back at all. He used his fastest speed and sealed the man's fist shadows while twisting both of the man's wrists until they were broken. The man took a few steps back and his waxy yellow face became pale. The pain on his face could not cover his shock. Although he was a tertiary stage yellow-level martial artist, not even those at the peak of the yellow level could beat him. However, this youth who was much smaller than him easily broke through his killing move and sealed all of his fist shadows and then broke his wrists. Ever since he graduated, it was his first time meeting someone so strong. How come he hadn't heard of this man in the hidden sects? He couldn't even last 10 moves before he was gruesomely defeated. Yimo bleakly looked at the man. Did you want to cut one or both of my legs off just then? Yimo wasn't sure because the man was so proficient with that move. If Yimo failed to step on that blade, then that man could have done whatever he wished on Yi Mo's legs. I just wanted to cut your left leg. Beads of sweat dripped from the man's pale face. Very well, I'll return the favor. Then, Yi Mo kicked the other half of the sword, and it turned into a white ray that was faster than when the man swung his sword at Yi Mo. A faint sound reverberated. When the man realized what had happened, his left leg was severed. Yi Mo had disappeared in front of him. He looked at the place where Yi Mo disappeared in terror until blood gushed out from his wound before he thought about stopping the bleeding. That sword was a casual throw, yet it still cut his legs clean like tofu. Who was he? Who the hell was he? How could he be so horrifying and strong? If this person wanted to annihilate the Yi family, even if he had a few more helpers, they would still be no match for him. How could he meet such a master in an urban city? The man couldn't help but to start shaking. Master, what's wrong? A youth in his 20s hurriedly came and helped the wobbly man up. The man saw the youth come and gasped a sigh of relief before immediately saying, "My wrists are broken, immediately grab my severed leg and carry me away from this place as far as possible. Quick, now. 20 to 30 people plus Huang Yu, how come they're still not here yet? Wenjin, go have a look." Yi Beirong had calmed down now. No matter who the youth was, he would still kill him after asking him some things. The Yi family wasn't some place people could come and go. "No need, I've come," a cold voice sounded at the door. Yi Beirong suddenly stood up and looked at Yi Mo in disbelief. Yi Mo was obviously not captured. After a long while, he reacted, "How did you come in? What happened to Huang Yu and the others? Didn't you tell me to come in? Are you talking about that yellow-faced long sword wielder? I cut off his leg and broke his wrists. He's been rescued away now." Yi Mo stared coldly at Yi Beirong before saying, "What?" Yi Beirong's head buzzed. Other people didn't know Huang Yi's power, but he was all too clear. This man said he cut off Huang Yu's leg, so how strong must he be? And why does he look a little familiar? Of course, Yi Long also knew how strong Huang Yu was. Now that Yi Mo said this, he didn't believe it, but soon, people came in and reported to him what happened outside. The way Yi Long looked at Yi Mo immediately changed. Someone who could chop off Huang Yu's leg was definitely from the hidden sects. Yi Beirong also heard the report and showed a serious face. He immediately said in a low voice, "Report it immediately. Brother, why did you come back here?" Yi Ling looked at this hall in fear. She was sentenced to death here in the morning and must be whipped for 3 days. As such, as soon as she come to this house, she felt a natural fear. "Who are you? How dare you be so cocky? Don't you know this is the Yi family? Yi Ling, how dare you bring outsiders to ravage here?" Yi Weiqi saw his father's dissatisfaction and called out. Yi Mo plainly glanced at Yi Wenqi. "Are you deaf? Didn't you hear Yi Ling call me brother? I'm Yi Mo, but I'm not a member of this family anymore." Of course, Yi Mo would never admit he was from the Yi family. Regardless of whether Yi Wentian was his biological father in this world, he still wasn't from the Yi family. "You are Yi Mo?" Yi Long stood up and looked at Yi Mo in shock. He finally understood why Yi Mo could still be fine after killing Song Shuoan. With his ability to cut off Huang Yu's leg, it was way too easy for him to kill a few Song family people and escape. It wasn't that the Song family didn't want to retaliate, but they didn't dare. By the looks of it, their intel was far inferior than the Song family. If Yi Long could understand this, of course, Yi Beirong could too. He didn't expect Yi Mo to grow to this state. Yi Beirong calmed down once again and suppressed the shock in his heart. He sat down and looked at Yi Mo. "Since you are Yi Mo and are a member of the Yi family, why did you break the mosque's door?" "Dad, I really tested Yi Mo's blood in the hospital. He's not from the Yi family." At this moment, Yi Wenqi spoke. "Shut up," Yi Beirong reproached. Yi Mo sneered. "Of course I'm not from the Yi family. I don't need you to remind me. I never thought myself as a member of this family. The reason I still haven't left today is to collect some debts. Who hit Yi Ling yesterday? All of you stand out. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you all. Don't doubt my words." Chapter 152. Good with both sides. Chapter 152. Good with both sides. Yi Mo, it's very rare to be able to practice martial arts to this degree. I don't know what fortune you had, but Yi Ling stole the Yi family's feng shui Dragon Balls. She's unforgivable. Although Yi Beirong calmed down on the surface, he still couldn't calm down inside. He didn't expect Yi Mo's power to reach this state. If he came back to the Yi family, then the Song family's cockiness will cease. However, he couldn't just ask for Yi Mo to come back. He could only do that through Yi Ling. He now no longer had the wish to punish Yi Ling plus, with Yi Mo's power, it would be a joke trying to punish Yi Ling seeing Yi Mo sneer. Yi Beirong continued, even if you're strong, can you stop Flying Eagle? I've already reported, not only will there be people from Flying Eagle Squad coming, but there will also be 3 people coming from Flying Snow Squad. If you are willing to admit your mistakes, I won't blame you. Yi Mo acted as though he didn't hear it. Of course, he knew about Flying Eagle. He was already the instructor for Flying Snow Squad, so how could he not know about Flying Eagle? In China's 9 Flying Special Ops Forces, Flying Eagle Squad was ranked 3rd. Seeing Yi Mo stay silent, Yi Beirong thought Yi Mo felt threatened. Just when he wanted to continue, Yi Mo suddenly took 2 balls from his pocket. You said that Yi Ling is unforgivable for taking these 2 Dragon Balls? And you're going to beat her to death? How are the Dragon Balls in your hands? Yi Wenjin knew that the things were in the Song family's hands, but now that Yi Mo had them, he couldn't stop himself from exclaiming. But immediately, he continued, is stealing the Dragon Balls forgivable? This is a treacherous act against the Yi family. Very well. Yi Mo gathered cultivation Kai on his hand and the 2 Dragon Balls were crushed to powder. After doing so, Yi Mo looked at Yi Wenjin and said, I've crushed both of them, what sin are you going to sentence me? Everyone in the Yi family was shocked, although the 2 Dragon Balls were stolen away, but the Yi family would eventually get it back through negotiation. At most, they would lose some interest, but now Yi Mo just crushed it. Yi Beirong looked at the crushed Dragon Balls in shock and couldn't say a word for a long time. Other than fury, he felt shock. How dare Yi Mo act in such a way? Yi Beirong pointed at Yi Mo. He was so angry that he couldn't say a thing. Yi Long and Yi Wenqi felt more shock than fear. They knew how hard the Dragon Balls were. Even if they used a hammer, they would need a lot of strength to shatter it. However, Yi Mo just rubbed it with his hands and it was powderized. Just what sort of strength was this? Yi Ling couldn't bear the scene and whispered in Yi Mo's ear, Brother, Grandpa has been quite nice to me, don't make him too angry. Yi Mo sneered. Is beating you to death being nice to you? I don't think you need this kind of nice. I will count to 3, whoever hit Yi Ling stand up or I won't hold back. And, whoever grabbed Yi Ling by the neck and left the 2 marks, speak. Looking at the extremely cocky Yi Mo, Yi Beirong was shaking with anger. He was originally planning for Yi Mo to return to the Yi family, but by the looks of it, he might as well let the Flying Eagle members kill Yi Mo. I grab her neck, so what? A middle-aged man said angrily to Yi Mo. He was called Yi Wenqi, a nephew of Yi Beirong. Yi Mo turned to look at that man and blandly asked, Oh, which hand did you use? What? I used my left hand, what can you do to me? Yi Wenqi was not bad in martial arts and he couldn't stand Yi Mo's arrogance. Nothing, I will take your left hand. Then, Yi Mo casually swiped through air. A blood ray shot out from Yi Wenqi's left shoulder, and his left hand along with his entire arm reaching to the shoulder was cleanly sliced by some invisible sword. The people in the room were in extreme fear once again. Although Yi Mo said he chopped off Huang Yi's leg, many of them didn't know how strong Huang Yi was and they didn't see it for themselves. Now that they saw Yi Mo sever Yi Wenqi's hand without moving, they finally realized how fearsome Yi Mo was. Yi Beirong knew Yi Mo was very strong, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to beat Huang Yu. However, casually cutting off Yi Wenqi's arm without moving, this was far beyond his comprehension. He stared in shock at Yi Mo's hand and forgot the fact that Yi Mo broke the Dragon Balls. He had already tried to overestimate Yi Mo, but he realized now that he still underestimated him a lot. He was guessing what projectile Yi Mo used. Yi Wenqi had been carried out and Yi Mo didn't seem to notice it. On the other hand, Yi Ling was shocked. She didn't expect Yi Mo to cut off her uncle's arm in front of so many people. A while ago when Yi Mo cut off Huang Yu's leg, she was asleep, so she didn't know Yi Mo's fierceness. Bring out the people who hit Yi Ling and I'll pretend nothing happened and leave. If you don't, then don't blame me. Yi Wenqi, slap yourself 30 times. If you still haven't moved before I go, you will regret it. Of course, Yi Mo wasn't going to let go of the main culprit for Yi Ling's apprehension. However, he couldn't just kill him now. He would think about it before he left. Just at this moment, another person came and bowed to Yi Beirong before saying, "The people from Nanqing are here, do you want them to come in?" Yi Beirong seemed to suddenly woke up and quickly said, "Quick, quick, let them come in. Nanqing's people just came yesterday." Originally, they wanted to cooperate with Yi Beirong, but because the Yi family's Dragon Balls disappeared, they were arranged to the hotel. Just then when Yi Mo came, Yi Beirong asked for them. Yi Beirong wanted to use them against Yi Mo. He thought that no matter how strong Yi Mo was, he wouldn't be able to do much to Nanqing. Yi Beirong looked at Yi Mo and said, "Yi Mo, Yi Ling made mistakes, so according to ancestral rules, we must hang her up and whip her for 3 days. You are indeed strong, much stronger than I expected. No wonder the Song family didn't dare to touch you, but no matter how strong you are, you can't be stronger than Nanqing. To be honest, Nanqing wanted to ask me to deal with you but I rejected. If Nanqing and us attacked you together, do you think you have any chances of winning? Plus, your acts are criminal. I believe there will be a hunt for you tomorrow." Yi Mo sneered. He didn't even bother with Yi Beirong. If it wasn't the Yi family people, he would have killed them long ago and finished the problem once and for all. However, if he killed all the Yi family people, first Yi Ling wouldn't allow it, second, he might come into conflict with Han Zixin. That didn't matter much, but the key thing was, his power was still low, and he depended on Han Zixin for resources. San Cai satisfactorily walked into the Yi family mansion. When he came yesterday, the Yi family tried to position themselves higher by dumping him in the hotel, but now, they still had to ask for him to come back. San Cai just saw Yi Mo and his face immediately changed. He didn't bother with the Yi family people near him and walked in front of Yi Mo while respectfully saying, "Brother Yi, I didn't expect to see you here." He couldn't even finish a sentence. He was so scared that he couldn't say the rest of his words. He didn't think that he would meet Yi Mo while coming to negotiate a business deal with the Yi family. F***ck off, I don't want to see you here. Yi Mo was very angry now, and the Nanqing people had even come to piss him off. As such, he didn't have that much of a good attitude. Yi Beirong could no longer stay calm anymore. He looked at the Nanqing representative who ran away with one sentence, and his heart immediately dropped cold. Yi Mo's power was so strong that it made his back cold. Even Nanqing people didn't dare to breathe loudly in front of Yi Mo. Yi Beirong, however, hadn't lost all his hope yet. But contrary to his expectations, before the Flying Eagle squad members moved, the 3 Flying Snow squad members saw Yi Mo and came to salute him. As a response, Yi Mo only nodded towards them. Although Yi Mo was the instructor, he knew he probably didn't have the authority to tell them what to do, so he didn't bother to tell these people to go back. Yi Beirong sunk into an ice cave. Who was Yi Mo? He was good on both sides. As though seeing the atmosphere was wrong, the leading Flying Snow squad member said, "We'll go have a look outside first." Then, the 20 or so members also went out. A few moments later, only the Yi family people remained in the house. Yi Wenqi also knew things were not right. Yi Mo's identity was just too great. "Bring the people who hit Yi Ling." Yi Beirong seemed to suddenly aged a lot. He didn't expect that the person abandoned by the Yi family could force the Yi family to such an extent. Yi Mo, a person who killed the Song family leader's son but still couldn't be killed by the Song family, was actually kicked out by the Yi family. Since Song Chiming could endure, so could he, Yi Beirong. In addition, Yi Mo was named Yi. Yi Ling looked at the 2 people who whipped her whip each other under Yi Mo's order and couldn't bear to look. She looked at Yi Mo and seemed to want to say something. Yi Mo knew what she thought and waved his hand. He knew that these 2 people only hit Yi Ling under Yi Wenqi's order, but their harsh whipping made Yi Mo have killing intent. "Grandpa, where did my second brother go?" Yi Ling looked at the old-looking Yi Beirong and asked. "I sent him to England." Yi Beirong sighed. "Brother, let's go, I don't want to stay here anymore." Yi Ling was scared Yi Mo was going to kill her big uncle. No matter what, that was still her big uncle. If Yi Mo did that, what would Grandpa do? Although she suspected her father's death to be related to her big uncle, but that was just a suspicion. Chapter 153, The Yi Family's State. Chapter 153, The Yi Family's State. Of course, Yi Mo knew what Yi Ling was thinking. Yi Ling was scared he would massacre the Yi family. Yi Mo wouldn't be so stupid. Even if Yi Ling had no feelings for the Yi family, he still couldn't kill people now, much less when she did have sentiments for them. Even if he were to kill, he would have to do it in secret. That way, even if everyone were to know his actions, none of them would have the evidence. If Yi Wenqi didn't dare to slap himself, then don't blame him for playing dirty. He crushed 3 small pieces of ore and shot one into Yi Wenqi's body, and another 2 towards the men who whipped Yi Ling. Then, he carried Yi Ling and left. Looking at Yi Mo's disappearing shadow, Yi Beirong seemed to have aged 10 years. After a long time, he murmured, "Is the Yi family going to end?" Yi Wenqi didn't realize that his life was saved by Yi Mo. Now that Yi Mo left, he immediately said, "Father, don't worry, since Yi Mo didn't kill today, then he shouldn't. Although he's strong, he's only one person. Could he compare with the entire family? Would he not be afraid of the country's judgment?" "Shut up, you think I don't know your little acts? You wanted to suppress Yi Mo, that's fine, but now you even want to touch Yi Zifeng. You didn't know anything about Yi Ling stealing the Dragon Balls? Although Yi Ling is unforgivable, but you knew what Yi Ling did and you didn't stop her. I originally thought that after the Yi family leaves the political scene, I might as well give you the family. But now, it seemed like I was very wrong." Yi Beirong spoke so hastily that he coughed. Seeing no one from the Yi family was awake to reality, Yi Beirong sighed once again. The only elite of the Yi family was kicked out. One that was slightly better was also suppressed. In order to protect Yi Zifeng, he had to send Yi Zifeng to England, and now, Yi Wenqi still talked with arrogance. Yi Mo wasn't even afraid of Nanqing, even the Song family felt fearful of Yi Mo. Why would he be scared of the Yi family? Yi Beirong said with a lack of interest, "I'm really disappointed. The Song family could find out Yi Mo's power and his identity and not dare to fight him, but our Yi family acted like a fool and didn't know anything. Yi Long, your intel job is really well done. Wenjin, the Jiu Luo guy Yi Ling knew was introduced by you, right? Why is Yi Lu fine? Do you all think I'm old?" Yi Wenqi had a pale face but didn't argue. Seeing everyone was silent, Yi Beirong was more disappointed. After a while, he said, "Yi Wenqi, tomorrow, apply for a relocation out of Beijing, you can decide where you go. Wenjin, tomorrow, hand in a resign and go with your second brother and do business. From today onwards, no one is allowed in the Yi family mansion without my permission." Saying this, Yi Beirong pretty much removed Yi Wenqi and Yi Wenjin from the authority center of the Yi family. Although he gave Yi Ling to Yi Wenqi to deal with, Yi Wenqi didn't have any kinship in mind, and that made him greatly disappointed. "Grandpa, in that way, wouldn't our family gradually leave the 5 great families of Beijing?" Yi Huang heard that his father was leaving Beijing and he was not satisfied. He knew that once he left Beijing, he would no longer be the Yi family young master. "Mph, the 5 great families, once I'm dead, why should the Yi family be one of the 5 great families? Stop dreaming. Let our fame stop here. If anyone stirs up trouble, go clean up yourself. Everyone leave, Yi Long and Beiguang stay." Yi Beirong finished the words and leaned tiredly against the chair. He had a plan. It was an all-in bet. If he failed, the Yi family would indeed leave the Beijing authority center. As such, he wouldn't tell his plan here. The Yi family members dejectedly left the meeting room. Although Yi Wenqi wanted to argue a little, but he knew that what his father decided on was adamant. He already had no choice but to retreat. At last, the entire room was only left with Yi Beirong, Yi Long, Yi Beiguang and the brother Jing who never spoke. Unexpectedly, the brother Jing who never spoke smiled and spoke after everyone left. Beirong finally made up his mind to take this step, but that Yi Mo is indeed an elite such talent. Not much young people these days can compare with him. Yi Beirong smiled with great fatigue. "I knew I couldn't hide it from brother Jing, but I really have no choice. Not many of my sons are talented. They only know how to fight amongst themselves. Wanchi is only a little smart but still can't be the leader of the family. My original plans are wrong. Although Yi Mo ravaged the Yi family, but this might not be a bad thing. You can't rise from the ashes without being burned first. The old man nodded. Brother Beirong is right in taking this step. After Wanchi and Wenjin leave Beijing, you can bring Zifeng back and gradually hand the family over to him. Although Yi Mo is not on good terms with the Yi family, he seems to be pretty good to Yi Ling. That would mean he would be good to Zifeng. As long as Zifeng is the leader of the Yi family, then if something were to happen, Yi Mo wouldn't stand and watch. Looking at his wide connections and his fierce means, you can just tell the Yi family will blossom. Yi Long finally understood what the leader meant. He wanted to say something but eventually couldn't. Yi Beirong looked at Yi Long and said, "Originally, I gave most of the authority to Wanchi and Wenjin. Your resources were limited, so I don't blame you for not having enough intel. But from today on, I will give a lot of resources to you. If you still can't make some progress, then decide what to do yourself." "Yes, leader, don't worry, I won't disappoint you." Yi Long was full of joy after hearing this. His resources were too limited. It was incomparable to that of Song Hai from the Song family. The main reason was because most of the authority were in Yi Wanchi's and Yi Wenjin's hands. In an house in Beijing, although Yi Ling brought Yi Mo here, Yi Mo was still unfamiliar with it. He didn't have any impression of living here. The room was relatively clean, so it could be seen that although Yi Ling rarely came to live here, she frequently came to clean it up. Yi Mo went out to buy some simple meals and a few sets of clothes. Under Yi Mo's Kai cultivation treatment, Yi Ling had pretty much fully recovered. Now that she had eaten something, she felt even better. "Brother, how did you know I was captured? How did you know I was in the mosque? Did you ask someone?" After Yi Ling recovered, the first thing she wanted to know was how Yi Mo knew she was captured. Yi Mo still said in a self-blaming tone, "I went to an elite social night in Beijing, and because I taught Song Yi a lesson, I heard people talking about the Yi family. I was worried about you, so I went to your dorm but didn't find you there. My first reaction was that something happened to you. I went to the Yi family, and luckily, you were still alright, otherwise, I really wouldn't be able to forgive myself. Thank you, brother. Before, I always looked down on you, but now, I know how naive I was. There are some things you can't resist no matter how much you reject it. You and second brother are the most important people to me. Without you, I may have died. After Mum and Dad passed away, I thought no one would care about me. I don't know how many times I felt sad and helpless, but now, I know I still have my brother. But Grandpa is so cold-hearted." Then Yi Ling fell into Yi Mo's arms and started crying. Yi Mo patted Yi Ling's back and blamed himself. To be honest, he never thought of Yi Ling and how she was doing. As for what she did for him, he didn't know at all. If he wasn't trying to find Yi Zifeng this time, even if she was beaten to death, he wouldn't even know. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care at all. But now, he understood that there was something in this world called feelings, kinship. Yi Ling looked down on him but still did many things for him quietly in her own way for no other reason but him being her brother. Just for that kinship. As for Yi Mo, he came to Beijing only because someone owed him money and also because he was going to help treat a friend's son. Even Yi Zifeng, he only thought of visiting him after getting here. Now, he understood that for someone like him who seemed no one knew and cared in this world, at least he still had a sister who cared about him. For the first time, Yi Mo felt some warmth at the bottom of his heart, making him lose himself in thought. After a while, he said in a self-blaming tone, "Sorry, Yi Ling, I never thought about you and made you suffer so much, Yi Ling suddenly said in a happy tone, "Brother, then if something good happens from now on, you need to remember me. In fact, I'm really happy to see you so strong and capable. Dad must be happier. Although I didn't achieve it, but Dad's last wishes came true. After second brother comes back, we will move out together. I won't stay in Beijing anymore, I don't like it here." Then, Yi Ling suddenly thought of something. She immediately said, "Brother, then big uncle saying that you are naturally impotent must be fake, right? I knew it. If Tian he didn't tell me yesterday, I would have thought it was true. They really are bad to the bone." Yi Mo touched his nose in a fit of awkwardness. He thought against it, but the results were indeed correct. He didn't want to talk about this topic with Yi Ling. Hey, brother, why are you being shy? You're already at this age. Okay, I'll save your face and won't talk about it. I feel really energetic. It's night already, so I'll invite you to a good meal tomorrow. Yi Ling laughed. She didn't think Yi Mo would be this shy. Her dorm mates were so much more open. This time, their talk was much more intimate than last night. After this, Yi Mo and Yi Ling felt the care they had for each other. Their originally distant relationship became closer. Brother, I'm going to take a shower and sleep. I'm going to invite my dorm mates tomorrow for food. We'll go together. You can sleep in second brother's room. Yi Ling wanted to shower and sleep. Although she had recovered, she still felt tired soon. Yi Mo, on the other hand, gathered those few ores and prepared to make a storage ring that night and a protective amulet for Yi Ling. He didn't want Yi Ling to undergo such torture again. If one were to compare intel capabilities, not many powers could exceed the Song family. Other than the government, the Song family intel could be ranked in the top 3. If one were to compare intel capabilities, not many powers could exceed the Song family. Other than the government, the Song family intel could be ranked in the top 3. The Song family knew what happened at the Yi family that same night, and they held another family meeting in the middle of the night. The Song family had never had such frequent family meetings, but now, all the Song family people knew it was because of Yi Mo. Even Song Yi was carried in, but the injuries he received were much more severe than Song Xiaochen. Song Chiming looked coldly at Song Yi and said, Song Yi disregarded the Song family's rules and challenged Yi Mo on his own. Leave Beijing tomorrow and go elsewhere. Without my order, you are not to return to Beijing again. Song Chiming showed his calm and resolute decision-making that was no less than Yi Beirong's. Hearing that he was not allowed in Beijing, Song Yi's face immediately became pale and quickly said, Big uncle, I didn't know he was Yi Mo at the time. Song Chiming didn't even talk but had a very angry face. Song Yi's heart immediately sunk down. Before he could say more, he was carried out. Song Chiming then said, Song Yi said he didn't know it was Yi Mo but if he wasn't so cocky, how could such thing happen? Our Song family isn't scared of Yi Mo, and we will eventually deal with him, but not now. So if anyone makes Song Yi's mistake, then don't blame me. Song Hai, report the news you received from Sai-Na Peninsula last night. No one dared to talk. If they spoke now, it would anger the family leader. Even with Song Yi's direct lineage, he was sent away so easily. Who dared to disobey the rules now? In addition, even the leader's own son was killed by Yi Mo, so it could be said that no one wanted to kill Yi Mo more than Song Chiming. If he could endure it, who didn't dare to? They could only say that Song Yi was unlucky or his arrogance brought him bad luck. Song Chiming indeed felt depressed. He wanted to wait till Hu Chou's master came back before making a move on Yi Mo, but now, it seemed to be insufficient. Song Hai stood up and said, according to the news I received from Sai-Na Peninsula, Yi Mo went to Sai-Na Peninsula and killed Chen Longqiu in front of Nanqing's #1 strongest man, Wu Qiong. It is said that Lang Ji controls Nanqing now, and it is said that Lang Ji is working for Yi Mo. This news is not yet confirmed, but another news is that Lang Ji's position isn't stable yet and was heavily injured in a conflict. He is yet to solidify his position as #1 in Nanqing. Then, Song Hai paused and continued, although Yi Mo killed Chen Longqiu, he didn't interfere with Nanqing's internal business and left Sai-Na Peninsula straight away. After Song Hai finished speaking, the room fell into a choking silence, and Song Chiming's face grew worse and worse. All the people here were the elite of the Song family. There was no one who didn't know about Nanqing, and Yi Mo had actually charged into the Nanqing headquarters by himself and killed Chen Longqiu straight away. It was something that people wouldn't even imagine. There were more than 2,000 troops in Nanqing headquarters, but Yi Mo came and went as he pleased. How much people did the Song family have? The only advantage they had was that they were a big powerful family of Beijing and was situated in the nation's power center. Yi Mo was not arrogant enough to take on a country now, and that's why the Song family was fine till now. No wonder the family leader said more than once not to mess with Yi Mo. Even after a few members were killed, he still didn't dare to mess with him. This was impossible before. Who didn't know the Song family's arrogance in Beijing? Even if they suffered a minor loss, the Song family would take full revenge. Now that the Song family suffered so heavily again and again, they could still manage to endure it. Although he had Song Hai's report once before, Song Chiming still couldn't help but to feel shocked. Yi Mo was no longer someone that could be dealt with by numbers. There must be someone as strong as him. Other than the hidden sects, perhaps no one could do anything to him. At the same time, Song Chiming felt lucky that he made the order not to mess with Yi Mo. Otherwise, if he pissed off Yi Mo, it would really be hard to say if the Song family would still exist. This was the reason why he was so angry at Song Yi. Although the Song family was an extremely large family, as the leader of the family, he needed to be very careful and not be impulsive. If Yi Mo could rampage in the Yi family, then so could he at the Song family. Song Chiming calmed his feelings before saying, "Song Hai, tell us about what happened at the Yi family last night." Yes, because Yi Mo's sister, Yi Ling, stole the feng shui Dragon Balls, she was punished. Yi Mo went to the Yi family and saved Yi Ling. At the same time, he cut off Yi Wensai's left hand. The reason was because he choked Yi Ling's neck. Moreover, the two people who whipped Yi Ling suddenly died not long after Yi Mo left. There's another unconfirmed news, and that's Huang Yu from the hidden sects had his wrists broken and had one leg severed by Yi Mo. Song Hai felt fear even after saying it himself. Yi Mo could make someone suddenly die after he left. This was too scary. He looked at the lost Song family people and sighed before saying, "These news weren't what shocked me the most. What makes me unwilling to believe was that last night, there was Nanqing people who went to the Yi family. They were told to *ck off by Yi Mo and they left in a hurry, not daring to say anything. It seemed that Nanqing might be really afraid of Yi Mo." Another news was that last night, the Flying Eagle squad members also went to the Yi family, but 3 Flying Snow squad members were also very respectful to Yi Mo. In other words, Yi Mo is now good on both sides. Even the Flying Special Ops forces are reverent to him. It could be seen that we really shouldn't take him head-on. After reporting this, the entire meeting room fell silent. After a long time, Song Chishan said, "Yi Mo definitely isn't someone who can be conquered by numbers. My idea is that we not only shouldn't mess with him, but should instead get close to him." Song Chiming waved his hand. "No need, we can't coexist with him, and he wouldn't pay attention to us. But we can't mess with him now. Song Hai, try to get close to some hidden sect masters at all costs. At least tertiary stage of black level or even earth level." "Yes," Song Hai replied immediately. Song Hai did things cleanly and swiftly, and Song Chiming was very satisfied about this. Yi Mo spent a night's time and made a storage ring with a 3 cubic meter storage space. His power was too low now, so he could only make something that big. He carefully put the remaining space abyssal rock in his storage ring. That black jade was forged into 2 jade necklaces amulets by Yi Mo. The jade necklace had some attacking abilities but was mainly for defense. Because the material was expensive, Yi Mo was not stingy on his cultivation kai in making it. The 2 amulets he made had permanent effect, but each time after use, its power would weaken a little. However, after a long time of not using it, it would gradually recharge. The reason was because Yi Mo's power was too low right now. If he wasn't really interested in concocting pills and forging artifacts before, he probably wouldn't even be able to create such an effect. It was like how he made runic papers. It would take him a few days to make a SOSO runic paper. After wearing the storage ring, Yi Mo finally felt relieved a lot. This was so much more convenient than carrying a big bag. The only thing was that this storage space was too small. Yi Ling packed everything up and intentionally wore a pretty dress before realizing that Yi Mo still hadn't come out. It was already past 9 a.m. Just when she wanted to knock, Yi Mo opened the door and came out. He seemed very fatigued. "Brother, what's wrong?" Yi Ling was shocked. Could yesterday's battle left some internal injuries? Yi Mo smiled and said, "Nothing, I made a defense amulet for you. Wear it on you from now on and don't take it off casually." Then, he gave the amulet to Yi Ling. The chain was made with a few materials. It had a warm, serene, and comfortable feeling when held in hand. Yi Ling took over the necklace with joy and exclaimed, "Brother, this necklace is really pretty. How did you make it? Did you make it with hand?" Then before Yi Mo replied, she wore it straight away. As soon as she did, she felt a cool sensation surge up in her heart. "Brother, I didn't know you had this skill. You can make a living with just this." Yi Mo speechlessly looked at Yi Ling. Although he couldn't starve to death from selling this, but could it be sold on a large scale? "Brother, did you not sleep the last night to make this?" Yi Ling suddenly thought of Yi Mo's fatigued expression and asked. Yi Mo subconsciously said, I'm afraid you'll be in danger again when I'm not around you, so I made this protective amulet for you. You must not take it off, do you understand?" Yi Ling's eyes went red as she reached out and hugged Yi Mo. "It's so good to have a brother." Seeing Yi Ling so happy, so was Yi Mo. He immediately said, "In fact I made two, I still have another here." "Brother, who's the other one for?" "Is it for your girlfriend?" "Brother, do you have a girl Riend? Tell me quick, I must see if she's worth my brother." Yi Ling spat out a series of words like fireworks, making Yi Mo not know which one to answer. However, he was also dazed. When he made them last night, he just made two. Who was the other one for? Luo Susu? A name suddenly jumped out of Yi Mo's brain, making him lost in thought. Rate translation quality 6 comments. Join in Google Tag. CMD push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter ad 154. After Zhuo Aigua had been on the phone with Yi Mo, his family hurried to Beijing the next day. Yi Mo kept his promise and came to Beijing, so there was no way he would let this chance slip. He even regret leaving the country at the wrong time, but on the second night, he and his family still timely arrived at Beijing on time. After Zhuo Aigua had been on the phone with Yi Mo, his family hurried to Beijing the next day. Yi Mo kept his promise and came to Beijing, so there was no way he would let this chance slip. He even regret leaving the country at the wrong time, but on the second night, he and his family still timely arrived at Beijing on time. Just when they left the airport, Zhuo Aigua called Yi Mo, but what made him worried was that Yi Mo's phone was shut. Due to Zhuo Huatong's condition, both he and his wife felt sorry for their son, so they took him to America to relax. Originally, when Zhuo Aigua saw Yi Mo told him he would come to Beijing within a year and help him treat his son, but it had only been a few months and there was no news from Yi Mo at all. Although Zhuo Aigua trusted Yi Mo to a great deal, his wife didn't believe so. It was because Zhuo Aigua gave something away which was used to treat his son. And because of this, she had many fights with Zhuo Aigua. They were fighting to the stage of divorce, and going abroad this time was also to ease up the tension in their relationship. They didn't expect to arrive in America for just a few days and Yi Mo would call them. Of course, Zhuo Aigua and his wife returned without hesitation. "Didn't you say that doctor will be waiting for us? Why is his phone off now?" Being unable to reach Yi Mo once they came back to Beijing, Zhuo Aigua's wife couldn't help but to feel more uncomfortable. Zhuo Aigua sighed. He could understand his wife's feeling, but Yi Mo was someone magical. How could that person go back on his words? He didn't bother explaining this to his wife though. Some things, the more one explained, the more complicated it became. Their originally excited mood became dejected after the family was unable to reach Yi Mo. Cai Ching, Zhuo Aigua's wife, reproached Zhuo Aigua a few sentences and no longer had the mood to argue with him. The family went back to their home silently. When they opened the door, they saw Zhuo Yangqing sitting in the living room in a very distressed manner. "What are you doing, Yangqing?" Zhuo Aigua curiously asked Zhuo Yangqing. She seemed to be acting erratic today. Normally, whenever Zhuo Aigua returned from a trip, especially overseas, the first thing she would ask was what he brought back for her. She wouldn't be acting like she was today. Zhuo Yangqing said, "I originally found that doctor who treated grandpa's disease, but I was interrupted by a bastard." "You found that doctor? Where was he?" Cai Ching immediately exclaimed with joy. In her eyes, that doctor who treated her big uncle was much more better than the one Zhuo Aigua met at Flowing Snake. "I don't know where he is now either. If it wasn't for Qin Zun, that bastard, perhaps I would have brought him back. If I'm to see him again, I wouldn't let him go even if he went to the toilet." Zhuo Yangqing dejectedly said. Yangqing, you're a girl, don't be so rude. Although Zhuo Aigua believed that the doctor who treated his big uncle must be very skilled, but he still had great faith in Yimo. Seeing that Xi Qing was disappointed, she quickly said, Third aunt, don't worry, I know who his sister is, I can definitely find him. Who? This time, Zhuo Aigua and his wife asked at the same time. It's Yi Ling from my school, that doctor is called Yimo. You must know him. He was the one kicked out by the Yi family. At first, I couldn't believe it too, but after talking with him for 10 minutes, I knew it was him, Zhuo Yangqing said without noticing Zhuo Aigua's expression. What? Zhuo Yangqing saw her third uncle's mouth wide open in shock. Zhuo Aigua patted his head and said, It seems that they are probably the same person. The doctor I was looking for is also Yimo. I don't think there can be two Yimo appearing at the same place and both be skilled medically. Yimo also had a shower and changed into casual clothes that Yi Ling bought for him. After wearing so, he seemed much better looking. Yi Ling circled Yimo around a few times and complimented, Brother, I didn't think you would look so handsome after changing you into a famous brand. If the girls in my dorm saw you, they would probably devour you to the bones. That Ning Qingxue really don't what's good for her. How dare she kick away my brother who is so handsome? Hearing Yi Ling talk about Ning Qingxue, Yimo suddenly thought of that day after following Black Snake. He didn't even go see Kai Wanqing and Ning Qingxue. He probably should have done so now that he thought about it. But just thinking that Ning Qingxue might have caught some feelings for him, Yimo felt a fit of helplessness. Ning Qingxue was indeed an excellent girl. Other than the initial princess syndrome, she changed a lot after living with him for nearly a month. From using her body to protect the silver heartgrass, preparing the suicidal recording and following him to Flowing Snake and the desert, perhaps she only thought it was out of guilt, but Yimo knew that it was far more than guilt. Although Yimo knew that she really need not be guilty, but he couldn't explain this to her. At least, she was an emotional person. Although she didn't see the holistic view sometimes, she was kind-hearted. Once she was set on something, she was very stubborn. Thinking about this, Yimo felt he had overdone it. Although he didn't dare to stay together with Ning Qingxue in the desert, she still came all that far to the desert just to see him. Meanwhile, he just left. Did this mean he didn't dare to face her? It was impossible to say that he wasn't a little bit interested in Ning Qingxue at all, but why didn't he dare to accept her? Yimo asked himself but immediately, and he suddenly thought of Luo Ying. But why did he have some faint feelings for Luo Susu? Was it just because she was named Luo and gave him a feeling of Luo Ying? Yimo shook his head. He understood that his feelings for Luo Susu was completely because of that accidental touch, or because they had each other's blood in their bodies, or perhaps they were the same type of people. Brother, what's wrong? Yi Ling felt Yimo was lost in thought and asked. Yimo shook his head and said, Ning Qingxue is actually a good girl, don't talk about her like that, she doesn't owe me anything and… Yimo didn't continue. Yi Ling looked at Yimo in shock and said, Brother, are you really in love with her? In fact, I feel she's a match for you, but she didn't say. Ning Qingxue looked down on him. Seeing that Yimo had some things in his heart, Yi Ling quickly pulled Yimo's hand and said, Brother, if you like her, then chase her, she's not someone that significant. We'll go eat first, I already invited the people from my dorm, so they should be out, let's go. Without letting Yimo argue, she dragged him out. But before choosing a place to eat, Tianhe and the others saw that Yimo seemed different from yesterday. The main reason was he was packaged by Yi Ling. Yimo was helpless with the girl's audacity, and eventually, Yi Ling could only helpless step in to stop them. After lunch, Yimo really couldn't handle their enthusiasm and told Yi Ling he had some business with his friends and told her to quickly deal with the things here and leave with him for Luo Kang. After Yimo had been gone for a long time, Yi Ling and the others went back to their dorm. At this time, Tianhe was still asking Yi Ling, Ling Zi, you sure he's your brother, Yimo? Your biological brother? Dan Dan and Lu Lu all had boyfriends, so they could only watch Tianhe being curious in jealousy. Yi Ling said in a not-so-satisfied tone, change your temperament first. My brother likes women like Ning Qingxue. I don't think you have much of a chance. Ning Qingxue? Sigh, the opponent is too strong. Tianhe gave off a long sigh and hugged her blanket into sleep. After Yimo left those people, He bought a set of silver needles but didn't call Joie Aigua. He knew that Joie Aigua must have came back yesterday, so he planned to just go straight to his house. What Yimo didn't expect was that it was Zhuo Yangqing who opened the door. But soon, he realized that both of them had the same surname, and in addition, didn't he meet her last yesterday as well? When Zhuo Yangqing saw it was Yimo standing at the door, it was only 0.01 seconds before she grabbed Yimo's arm and said, "You must not leave this time." A ball of softness stuck to Yimo's arm. Yimo coughed. "Hey, let go, you're letting me take advantage of you." Zhuo Yangqing's face only slightly blushed as she immediately said, "You said you would wait for the day before yesterday, but why did you leave? If I let go, what if you leave again?" Yimo helplessly said, "I came especially for Joie Aigua, how could I leave?" At this moment, Joie Aigua had come out and saw Yimo standing at the door. He immediately came up with a face full of joy and surprise. "Brother Yi, you really came, quick, come in." "Yangqing, why are you still holding his arm? Quickly go make Uncle Yimo some tea." "What? Uncle Yimo?" Zhuo Yangqing understood that Yimo indeed came for her third uncle, but what made her depressed was that Yimo was only 2 or 3 years older than her. How did he become her uncle? Rate translation quality 1 comments join in Google tag. CMD push, function, Google tag. Display, chapter add 155. Zhuo Yangqing helped Yimo make some tea and circled once around Yimo before saying, "Dr. Yi, how come I feel you're so much more handsome today? Right, you really look different wearing expensive brands. Oh, and I heard Ning Qingxue married with you again. Is this real or fake?" Zhuo Yangqing helped Yimo make some tea and circled once around Yimo before saying, "Dr. Yi, how come I feel you're so much more handsome today? Right, you really look different wearing expensive brands. Oh, and I heard Ning Qingxue married with you again. Is this real or fake?" Yimo looked at Zhuo Yangqing speechlessly. He suddenly thought of Wang Ying. These two girls were really alike. The first time Yimo saw Zhuo Yangqing, he thought she was a girl that was too reserved, but now, it seemed that he must never really take that first impression. She was just saying how she wouldn't let him go, but now, she had already completely forgotten her purpose. "Yangqing, you really don't know how to be more conservative, you're already 22, Joie Aigua said with unsatisfaction. Zhuo Yangqing poked out her tongue and quickly sat beside Yimo, just observing him but not saying anything. Cai Qing looked more nervous and didn't know what to do. Instead, she just kept giving her husband hints, but Joie Aigua, on the other hand, didn't seem to see it at all. Yimo saw it however and smiled. "I'll have a look at the kid first, I still need to get back to Luokang ASAP." "Brother Yi, you live in Luokang now?" Joie Aigua asked. Zhuo Yangqing worriedly said, "Dr. Yi, you can't go, you still haven't looked at my grandpa's condition yet. It doesn't matter how much you charge, my aunt is at home, and she won't argue with the price like me." In Zhuo Yangqing's eyes, Yimo was a doctor that only looked at money. "Yangqing," Zhuo Aigua unhappily said. Yimo waved his hand and said to Zhuo Yangqing, "Although I can treat your grandpa's disease, I'm missing some medicine. If I do have them, your grandpa can live for another 2 to 3 decades. If you want to treat him now without those medicine, he may live 10 years less." Seeing that Zhuo Yangqing was dazed, Yimo didn't bother with her and just went straight into Zhuo Huatang's room. Yimo carefully looked at his situation and his eyebrows began to frown more. Zhuo Huatang's condition was artificial. Who was it? Using such evil means against a child a few years old? There was a gust of qi in his head. For ancient martial arts cultivators, it was inner qi. It could be kept inside the human body to damage bodily functions. No wonder modern medicine couldn't diagnose it. Seeing Yimo frown, Zhuoriguo felt worried but didn't dare to ask, scared that he may interrupt Yimo's train of thought. If even Yimo didn't have a way, then only death awaited his son. Seeing Zhuoriguo worried, Yimo smiled and said, "Brother Zhuo, don't worry, your son's condition isn't hard for me, I can cure him in 20 to 30 minutes, splat." Cai Qing's tub fell to the ground and water splashed everywhere. It had been 3 years, and it was the first time she heard someone say her child could be cured in 30 minutes. Even if Yi Mo was practicing medicine for the first time, she would still believe Yi Mo's words just because he said he could cure Huatang. Brother Yi, are you being serious? Zhuo Aigua stuttered in excitement. Although he pretended he didn't care, his son was more important to him than anything else. Yi Mo nodded. I didn't lie, I just have one question I want to ask you. When did this occur, and were there any abnormal symptoms before and after? And did you come into conflict with someone before Huatang's condition occurred? Conflict? No, although I had some business opponents, I never got into conflict or enmity with anyone. Brother Yi, are you saying Huatang's condition is? Zhuo Aigua looked at Yi Mo in shock. Yi Mo's tone seemed to suggest that his son's disease was artificial and not natural. Yi Mo nodded. It should be artificial, we'll talk about this after I cured him. Then, Yi Mo took a silver needle and stabbed it into Zhuo Huatang's head and started to remove that sliver of inner qi. 10 minutes or so later, he had already removed it completely. Then, he used his kai to heal the inside of Huatang's head. After doing these, Yi Mo packed up the needles. He felt something different when he removed the qi. He wouldn't believe that people could leave marks or imprints on qi on this planet, but he had that feeling. He couldn't think of anything, so he brushed these thoughts aside. He believed that if he were to encounter this person, he could recognize him as soon as they fought. Is our Huatang all right now? Cai Ching couldn't care about the tub on the floor and asked worriedly. Yi Mo nodded. He should be fine. At this moment, Zhuo Huatang opened his eyes, looked at Zhuo Aigua before looking at Cai Ching and then said half-consciously, Dad, Mum, why did I feel like I slept for a long time? Huatang, you're really okay. Hearing that Zhuo Huatang could call Mum and Dad, Cai Ching rushed up with tears of joy and hugged her son. Zhuo Aigua looked excitedly at his son. The thing they had been troubled with was finally resolved by Yi Mo in a little more than 10 minutes. Yi Mo became more and more mysterious in his eyes. He only felt joy and gratefulness. He knew that if he said more words of gratitude, it would not be good. Zhuo Yangqing stood at the door and looked at Yi Mo in astonishment too. Yi Mo's technique today was much more advanced than the one he used to treat her grandpa. Zhuo Huatang had been sick for 2 years and no one could do anything about it, and yet, he actually managed to cure it. He really was a magical doctor. She must keep tight eyes on him this time. Huatang, tell Daddy, how did you fall asleep? Zhuo Aigua thought of Yi Mo's words and immediately asked. He was afraid his son would forget after time. Zhuo Huatang thought a long while before saying, I can't remember, I think there was an uncle who pressed his hand on my head and then I fell asleep. And, there was also Pang Hu. Another uncle felt Pang Hu's head for a while and seemed to compare something. I can't remember anything else. If you can't remember it, don't worry, Huatang, sleep first. Zhuo Aigua had understood that what Yi Mo said may be true. I know that Pang Hu, his Huatang's classmate, and also seemed to have gotten sick and died. The same thing probably happened to him. Cai Ching said with fear. They didn't have any enmity with anyone, so why was someone trying to harm their son in such ways? And the Zhuo family wasn't a small family in Beijing. Who actually had the audacity? Yi Mo knew these things were hard to explain. Although the couple tried to get him to stay, but he still said he was going to leave. He had a lot of things to do and didn't have time to stay here. However, Zhuo Yangqing grabbed Yi Mo. You must come and help my grandpa, why don't you leave your number with me? Seeing Zhuo Yangqing's worried face and Zhuo Aigua's hopeful face, Yi Mo left his number and wrote a recipe. He told Zhuo Yangqing to gather the materials, and the next time he came to Beijing, he would come help her grandpa. Finally, Zhuo Yangqing let go of Yi Mo reluctantly. Yi Mo returned to his place, and Yi Ling had been waiting for him for a long time. Brother, when are we going to Luokang? Yi Ling hesitated and asked. Yi Mo looked curiously at Yi Ling and asked, do you still have something to do? Yi Ling nodded, I still have 2 months before I graduate. Can we go Luokang 2 months later? And today, second brother called me in the afternoon. He would come back in a few days and told me to wait for him. I believe he must have something. Seeing that Yi Mo remained silent, Yi Ling quickly said, in the afternoon, Grandpa also called me. Grandpa had never called me before, and yet he apologized to us 3. He said he wanted to have a good chat with us after second brother comes back. I don't know whether or not I should listen to him, but brother, if you don't think I should stay, then I will go to Luokang with you immediately. I'll give second brother a call later. Yi Mo had begun to understand what Yi Beirong was thinking. He wanted to use his power through Yi Zifeng, but he didn't mind and thought that even if Yi Ling stayed in Beijing, the people from Yi family wouldn't dare to do anything to her. Plus, when he returned to Luokang, he might have to go out once. Yi Ling didn't know anyone at Luokang, and it might be hard for her. Thinking about this, Yi Mo nodded and said, in that case, you can stay and wait until Zifeng comes back. If there's something, call me immediately. Give this bracelet to Zifeng, I'm going back to Luokang today. Yi Mo said this because he knew that Yi Zifeng felt a great sense of belonging to the Yi family, and Yi Zifeng was probably a little more important than him in Yi Ling's heart. As such, he didn't try to persuade Yi Ling from staying. Although Yi Ling could only send Yi Mo on his way with reluctance, she really wanted to leave Beijing with Yi Mo. She hated this place, but a few days later, her second brother would come back. She was afraid that the Yi family would try to harm Yi Zifeng, so there were some things she needed to tell him. Yi Mo could realize that the Yi family was trying to use him through Yi Zifeng, but she couldn't. As soon as he went back to his place in Luokang, he immediately felt something was wrong when he was still at a distance from the mansion. His spirit sense scanned in immediately. Rate translation quality no comments. Be the first. Google tag. CMD push, function, Google tag. Display, chapter ad 156. The mansion was empty, and both Yu Erhu and Lu Xiaozhen were not there. If they were just both not there, then he would have thought they were out doing something. However, the scene in the yard made him furious. The mansion was empty, and both Yu Erhu and Lu Xiaozhen were not there. If they were just both not there, then he would have thought they were out doing something. However, the scene in the yard made him furious. The thing he cared about the most, the 10 or so budded silver heartgrass, were gone. There were messy digging marks everywhere. Obviously, they were dug away. Although they grew very slow here, countless times slower than Ninghai, but they still budded. Now, however, they were dug away. It was already very slow to cultivate here. If he didn't find that silver heartgrass, perhaps he wouldn't even be at stage 2 Kai gathering, much less stage 3. The reason he could reach stage 3 was mostly because of that spirit well in the desert. Thus, silver heartgrass was Yi Mo's last hope. The silver heartgrass could be used for cultivators up to and below stage 6, but now, his hope were dug away in 3 days' time after he left. This wasn't all. He didn't know what happened to Yu Erhu and Lu Xiaozhen. Both of them knew how much he treasured the silver heartgrass and wouldn't allow other people to dig it away. Now that the grass had disappeared, what would have happened to them? Yi Mo was sure that even if the Song family people knew he lived here, they wouldn't dare to touch it, much less Nanqing people. Since this person could dig it away and not damage it, it meant that he knew its uses. Yi Mo wouldn't believe that there were cultivators here. He had done his research. Cultivators here only existed in legends, no one would believe it. However, ancient martial arts and special powers did exist here. Some special power owners could use cultivation-like attacks, but those with special powers could only use one type of attack, unlike cultivators. Yi Mo had stayed an entire day at Flying Snow Squad, and Zhongju also introduced Yi Mo to the country's special powers squad. Their status was on par of that of Flying Sao Squad. Compared to Flying Snow Squad, they each had their merits, but in Yi Mo's eyes, these special powers were weaker than those ancient martial arts cultivators. Their attacks weren't sharp enough. The silver heartgrass was not only useful for Yi Mo, but also for people with special powers and ancient martial artists. Yi Mo, however, believed no one knew this, as silver heartgrass needed to be concocted into pills with other ingredients before it would be of great help to them. But other than himself, he was yet to find anyone who could concoct pills. Yi Mo knew that this wasn't absolute. He only guessed that no one knew how to concoct pills here, but what if someone knew how to? The reality was that his silver heartgrass was taken. But he didn't have any clue as to who did it. He could only blame himself for leaving in a rush that day following the Nanqing people and then going to Beijing after. He didn't even have time to set up a formation. It seemed that he needed to set one up for here. Just when Yimo wanted to go inside and look, Lu Xiaozhen rushed here. Yimo felt relieved, since she was okay, and it meant Yu Erhu was fine too. Master, you're back. Lu Xiaozhen looked at Yimo with joy. Each time there was hardship, her master would appear. The last time Yu Erhu was taken away, this happened too. The moment she saw Yimo, she felt secure. What happened to Erhu? Looking at Lu Xiaozhen, he knew something must have happened to Erhu. The second day you left, someone came and said they wanted the grass you planted and wanted to buy it. Of course, Erhu didn't allow it, so these people robbed them. Erhu stopped them and had his arm broken. By the time I came back, they were still beating up Erhu, so I immediately called the police. When the police came, these people had left, Lu Xiaozhen said. Yimo immediately asked, "Where's Erhu?" "He's still in the hospital, he should be fine." But when these people left, they told Erhu that they would still be back, Lu Xiaozhen said again. To ask who planted these seeds, right? Yimo's face sunk. How dare they think about his silver heart grass? These people really had guts. Since they know its use, it meant that they weren't ordinary people. Yimo wanted to see who they were. Yes. Lu Xiaozhen lowered her head. She knew how important they were to her master, but she and Erhu couldn't protect it. You are not to blame for this. Go bring Erhu back, he doesn't need to stay in the hospital anymore. We opened a clinic ourselves, so I will deal with the hospital things. I'm going out for a bit now, and I'll be back at night. He was going to buy some materials to set up a formation flag. Otherwise, he really didn't feel secure planting the silver heart grass seeds here. Who knew if he was still going to plant more spirit grass here? When Yimo came to the jade market, he knew that he couldn't buy a lot of the materials he needed, so he could only replace it with some jade and copper. He could refine some copper essence from copper, but that wasted too much energy. However, in order to set up the formation, it was necessary. After a long day, Yimo almost filled up his storage ring before preparing to go back. He lost more than half of the $600,000 he had just acquired. Just when he walked out of the jade market, he saw an anxious figure who seemed familiar. When the person turned around, he immediately recognized it was Yu Miaodan. Not only was her face worried, but she also seemed fatigued from a long journey. Although she was still on the run the last time he saw her, but she still had her composure at that time. Today, he could only see a shabby woman, but her curvaceous body still showed that she was a woman. Yu Miaodan obviously didn't see Yimo. She kept her head low as she went into a small shop. Yimo saw her take out some notes from her bag and bought a bread. "Girl, let's go, I'll invite you to something spicy." As soon as she walked out of the small shop, two youths stopped her. There were these hoodlums everywhere. As long as one moved aside, none of them really dared to do anything. However, Yu Miaodan's face changed as she turned to run. The two little hoodlums were like dogs. As soon as they saw her run, they immediately chased. Usually when one met dogs, if one didn't run, then the dog wouldn't dare to do anything. However, if one did run, the dogs would immediately chase after them. What happened? Yimo looked at Yu Miaodan, who ran towards him and still asked. Although he helped Wu Xueming more than the latter helped him, and that Wu Xueming seemed to have changed, Yimo wasn't a heartless person. If he could casually help Yu Miaodan, he didn't mind doing so. Yu Miaodan saw Yimo and her face showed expression of surprise and delight. She didn't even realize she dropped her bread on the ground. "Yimo, I finally found you." Yu Miaodan sounded as though she was already looking for Yimo. "You came looking for me?" Yimo could tell that she was, but he felt it was weird. Even if Wu Xueming needed something, he wouldn't send his girl to look for him. The two hoodlums saw that Yu Miaodan knew Yimo and immediately tried to leave. However, Yimo spoke. "You two, come here." "What? So what if we come? What do you dare to do to me? I'm from the Metal River, so what if I come, what can you do?" The two hoodlums really came over and one of them carkily spoke. They were hoodlums under Metal River. Yimo looked at Yu Miaodan with great intrigue. Her man was the authoritative figure of Metal River, but she was being chased by Metal River hoodlums. And when she saw these two hoodlums, she was obviously startled and tried to run. This didn't seem right. Yu Miaodan seemed to want to say something, but Yimo knew it wasn't the time to talk, so he went up and kicked each of the hoodlums on the ground to the point they couldn't even crawl up. Then, he said, "Nothing, just kicking you both. What are you going to do?" The two hoodlums knew that they met someone tough, so they didn't talk. The people around saw the two like this and all started laughing. When Yimo brought Yu Miaodan back, Lu Xiaozhen had brought Yu Erhu back from the hospital. Both of them hadn't seen Yimo bring back a woman before. Now that they saw this very appealing Yu Miaodan, they immediately got the wrong idea. However, Yu Miaodan's shabby look also made Lu Xiaozhen very puzzled. "Xiaozhen, this is Yu Miaodan, a friend of mine. Take her to get some food and rest. I need to talk to her." Yimo saw that Yu Miaodan looked rather fatigued and knew that she didn't live very well recently and probably ran for her life here. After Yimo treated Erhu and asked him carefully, he understood their intentions. They did want to rob the silver heart grass, but he didn't know how they knew he planted them. Was he followed when he came back from Sai-Na Peninsula? Yimo believed it wouldn't be easy to follow him. "Erhu, tell me what that person looked like." Yimo the leader was in his 30s and looked very skinny and bleak, Yu Erhu described. This made Yimo think of the bleak man he met at that Luokang artifact social night. Could it be him? Rate translation quality 2 comments join in Google Tag. CMD push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter ad 157. Yu Miaodan ate some things and took a shower. She seemed much more vibrant afterwards, at least there was some ruddiness on her face. Yu Miaodan ate some things and took a shower. She seemed much more vibrant afterwards, at least there was some ruddiness on her face. Looking at Yu Miaodan, who sat opposite to him, although she was still curvaceous, her face still seemed much more fatigued compared to a few months ago. She seemed to want to say something, but without even asking her, he knew something must have happened to Wu Xueming. If Yu Miaodan wanted him to help Wu Xueming, should he go? If he just came to Luokang and was faced with this question, he would go for sure because Wu Xueming was a worthy friend. But now, he wasn't sure if he would go. Although he hadn't seen Wu Xueming since leaving Jing City, he could feel that, through what happened last time, Wu Xueming had changed. At least not a worthy friend anymore. "Xueming changed a lot. I know what happened with you last time at Luokang. I spoke to him about it, but he said women shouldn't be involved with these things. He even yelled at me. Later on, he lusted more for power and I gradually felt like I didn't know him. He was no longer the person he was before. For more than once, I wanted to leave him, but I couldn't do it. I stayed back again and again." Yu Miaodan didn't wait for Yimo to ask and started talking. Seeing that Yimo was listening but didn't say anything, Yu Miaodan sighed and continued, "He changed so much that I felt he was a complete stranger. He even killed the people who Metal Mountain sent to monitor him. It was at that time that I made up my mind to leave him. His lust for power finally caught Metal Mountain's attention and he underestimated Metal Mountain. When Xueming thought he had controlled most of the power in Metal River, Metal Mountain just spent a night and forced Xueming into a struggle to survive." Yu Miaodan suddenly wiped her eyes. Yimo could see her body and hands were shaking. Yu Miaodan didn't continue and took out a pack covered by paper and gave it to Yimo before Xueming left. He suddenly woke up and said, "If things were to happen again, he wouldn't become big boss of Metal River and would take me far away from Metal River. He told me to give this to you." Then, Yu Miaodan gave the package to Yimo. She had completely calmed down. Yimo took it. It felt heavy as though it were a metal slab. He frowned and said, "Xueming passed away?" Yu Miaodan nodded, stood up and said, "I've handed this to you now, I need to go." "Wait." Yimo opened the bag and there was a black metal slab inside. Why did Wu Xueming give this to him? Seeing Yimo's confused expression, Yu Miaodan spoke. "Xueming said you were practicing ancient martial arts, so this thing should be helpful to you." Yimo nodded and scanned the metal in his hands. Immediately, his face was full of shock. This was an otherworldly Gung iron essence. How could there be such a thing on Earth? Where did Wu Xueming get this from? This was rare even in the cultivation realm, much less on Earth. It was the top-tier material for making flying swords. However, it was a little too small. Despite this had unimaginable worth in Yimo's hands. The materials he got from Han Zixin weren't even worth 0.1% of this combined. Immediately, Yimo understood Wu Xueming's intentions. That guy must have guessed that he was cultivating ancient martial arts, and that this material should be useful to him. He told Yu Miaodan to bring this to him, so Yimo knew Wu Xueming's intentions were rather clear. He wanted Yimo to save Yu Miaodan's life. With such a material, even if a cultivator were to touch Yu Miaodan, Yimo would try to think of ways to save her, much less a gang organization. Plus, Yimo was not a heartless person. I'm grateful for Brother Xueming's gift. You can stay at my place. Even the Heavenly Emperor wouldn't dare to touch you. As for Metal River, I never considered them a threat. Then, Yimo suddenly thought of something. Yu Miaodan intentionally escaped to Luo Kang, which meant that she was chased here by the people from Metal River. Was his silver heart grass taken by them? If it was so, then it would be easy. He would annihilate Metal River from Luo Kang. Hearing Yimo's words, Yu Miaodan couldn't help but to cry. She understood why Wu Xueming told her to bring this and find Yimo. In his eyes, only Yimo could save her life. Yimo wasn't even afraid of Qian Longqiu, so how could be scared of a mere metal mountain? Who are the people hunting you, do you know? Yu Miaodan stopped crying and thought a while before saying, one of them looks skinny in his 30s. I saw him at a distance at the station. He looked bleak. That person was probably tracking me, so I followed a tour group and avoided him. Yimo immediately knew that the person Yu Miaodan and Yu Erhu spoke of should be the same person. He remembered that bleak man who tried to fight over the space abyssal rock with him. It was quite possibly him. Since that man could tell space abyssal rock was good, he probably could tell that his silver heartgrass was good too. If he knew this would happen, he should have killed him at the social night and not just rob him. That meant this guy was working for Metal River. Last time, Lang Ji said that there was a rather strong master at Metal River who was going to break through. Was he talking about this man? But in Yimo's eyes, although that bleak man was strong, but he was not stronger than Lang Ji. Well, his eyes were really good though. Just from the gift Wu Xueming gave him, he would take over this matter, much less his silver heartgrass was stolen by the Metal River people. You can live here from now on. If you feel bored, learn some medicine with Lu Xiaozhen and Yu Erhu. I suspect that Metal River stole some of my things, so even if they didn't look for trouble with me, I would go find them. After I eradicate Metal River, you can go wherever you want. Yimo was certain that the bleak man was from Metal River. Even if he wasn't, he was related to them. In the following few days, Yimo used all his material to make a formation flag and formation plate and set up a defensive formation around the mansion. Then, he made another 3 bracelets and gave them to the 3. He told them that he set up defenses around the mansion and that they needed to wear the bracelet to go in and out. If there are patients, they must go through a certain entrance. Although Yu Miaodan was a bit dubious, Erhu and Xiaozhen believed Yimo deeply. In their hearts, anything Yimo said was right. Yimo waited another few days and still no one came to the mansion. It seemed that the people who stole the silver heartgrass didn't mean what they said. However, Yiling called and told Yimo that her big uncle and fourth uncle were sent away by her grandpa. Now, it was still peaceful for her at Beijing. Since the Metal River people didn't come for him, Yimo didn't want to wait any longer. He still needed to go to Flowing Snake in some time and didn't have time to waste with them. Since they didn't come, he would go look for them. Su Jingwen hadn't been to a classmate reunion in 3 years. Today was the first time after her graduation that she participated in this. If the reunion didn't happen to be set in Ninghai or if Xiao Lei didn't come as well, she really didn't want to go. Jingwen, everyone is waiting for you to come over quick. Su Jingwen just arrived and Xiao Lei's voice was immediately heard. No matter where Su Jingwen was, she seemed to be the center of attention. Soon, many students gathered around. Yeah, Jingwen, you have never been to a single reunion since graduation. Even Xiao Lei is earlier than you when she came from Beijing. Another girl pulled Su Jingwen while speaking unhappily. Su Jingwen apologetically smiled. A few days ago, my mother was sick, I wasn't in the mood. Oh yeah, Jingwen, I heard Wang Peng say your mother was cured with runic paper, is that true? You're not really telling me that there is such a magical thing in the world, the girl pulling her hand immediately asked incurious it. Of course, I went with Jingwen to buy it that day. Wang Peng walked over. Su Jingwen frowned and thought. Wang Peng wasn't her classmate, why was he here? As though seeing Su Jingwen's confusion, Xiao Lei immediately whispered to Su Jingwen, Wang Peng is chasing after me, but I haven't been interested in men lately, so I told him I would go to a reunion. Didn't expect him to follow. Before Su Jingwen said anything, another person said, runic paper saving lives isn't completely unbelievable. I'll tell you guys something that you probably won't believe. A while ago, my cousin went to Luo Kang for a magic artifact social night. Haha, magic artifact, doesn't this sound metaphysical? Indeed, Cheng Fei, tell us what happened with your cousin, another male classmate said. Cheng Fei said. Don't be hasty, I once again state that all I am about to say is true. My cousin spent 200k and bought a defense necklace. Then, she heard the stall owner say that his pills are very potent, so she spent another 200k and bought a beauty pill. Your cousin is really rich, that stall owner is probably a fraud. It's a real pity that this comedian isn't on the New Year's Eve show. I really don't know what to say about your cousin. Even if she's rich, she can't waste it like that, another classmate interrupted. Rate translation quality 2 comments join in Google Tag. CMD push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter ad 158. Chen Fei said, my cousin had a lot of spots on her face and they couldn't be removed, and so she believed that person's words. That pill looked black and scary. Everyone in the family were against her eating the pill. At that moment, my cousin also thought she was lied to, but that pill costed 200k, and she didn't want to throw it. As such, she took it as a learning experience. That necklace, on the other hand, looks pretty, and so she wore it. Chen Fei said, my cousin had a lot of spots on her face and they couldn't be removed, and so she believed that person's words. That pill looked black and scary. Everyone in the family were against her eating the pill. At that moment, my cousin also thought she was lied to, but that pill costed 200k, and she didn't want to throw it. As such, she took it as a learning experience. That necklace, on the other hand, looks pretty, and so she wore it. See, I told you that the frauds in the society are too much. If they catch your weakness, they will trick you. Perhaps you won't notice it at the time, but afterwards, you would realize that you were tricked, the other male said. However, Cheng Fei shook his head. You thought wrong because the thing that happened a few days ago you would not believe if I told you. That day, my cousin went to the supermarket and discovered thief. She immediately signaled for the victim, however, that thief actually pulled out a knife and stabbed at my cousin. Just when my cousin didn't know what to do, her necklace shot out a ray of rainbow light and repelled that thief meters away to the point that he couldn't crawl up for a long time. That thief was later caught by the security. I didn't believe it at the time, but my mum said that. My cousin bought that necklace for 200k, and it was said to have 3 times of defensive powers. When she went back, she immediately checked the necklace, and one of the rays disappeared. Cheng Fei, I think you heard too much stories, how could something like that happen? A girl with pimples immediately said. Cheng Fei sneered. Wang Lijuan, you may think I'm telling stories, but I know what I said is true. The first thing my cousin did after getting home was eating that pill, and guess what? You won't believe it, but all the spots on her face disappeared the next day. Now, her face is very smooth and shiny. My cousin had spent countless money on her spots, but she wasn't able to treat it. But that small pill just solved the problem. Now can you still say that man is a fraud? I saw this with my own eyes. There really is such thing, a few students behind Wang Lijuan exclaimed. Although they were all classmates, they obviously didn't really believe it. Why can't it be real? We just haven't seen those magical people. The fighting scenes on the movies are CGI, but I believe that those people really exist in the real world, another guy confirmed. At this moment, Xiao Lei also spoke, although I don't know if what Cheng Fei said is true. But I agree with Zhong Weiwei's words. Those powerful people definitely exist, although they can't fly, but they can still do what they do in movies. Su Jingwen glanced once at Xiao Lei. Of course, she knew that Xiao Lei must have said that while thinking about Yi Mo. Cheng Fei, do you know where the person your cousin bought the pill from is at? Wang Lijuan immediately asked hopefully. Cheng Fei shook his head and said, of course I don't know, people from all over the world come on that night, who knows where he's from. And my sister immediately went to that place to find that person the next day, but she didn't find anything. The powers of my cousin's necklace had been verified. People would even take it for 2 million, much less 200k. Later, someone offered 2 million for that used necklace, but my cousin didn't sell it. Of course I wouldn't sell it either. If that things is real, it is too magical, but I'm still a bit dubious. Another guy said. Song Jingwen was interested and asked, Cheng Fei, do you know what that person who sold your cousin the necklace looked like? And where is this social night at? Cheng Fei shook his head. I don't know too well, my cousin said he's very durable to look at, and he dressed low-cost clothes. However, his eyes were very bright. As for the social night, it happens once a year at Luokang. Su Jingwen lost herself for a moment. She subconsciously thought of the man who sold her the runic paper. At that time, he wore shades and she couldn't see his eyes. He also dressed low-cost clothes. Was it that person? Luokang's social night. She heard that Ning Qingxue was also at Luokang now. Perhaps she could go to Luokang and see her while visiting that place. Jingwen, long time no see, you're getting prettier and prettier. Seeing Su Jingwen lost in thought, Wang Peng's heart felt itchy. When he didn't see Su Jingwen, he felt Xiao Lei was not bad, high build, flashy personality and a good face. But now that he looked at Su Jingwen again, he found that some people really couldn't be compared together. Su Jingwen's thought was broken by Wang Peng, and she looked uncomfortably at Wang Peng. I'm still the same. Xiao Lei, let's go sit over there are some things I need to tell you. Being ignored by Su Jingwen, Wang Peng sneered. Just you wait. Originally, Su Jingwen didn't have a good impression of Wang Peng. After Wang Peng ridiculed many times the person who sold her the charm, she lost all her good opinions of Wang Peng. If she believed him at the time, her mother would still be in the bed. Just when Xiao Lei and Su Jingwen sat down, another young man walked over. One girl suddenly exclaimed, Suo Lin is here. Almost all the girls rushed to him. Xiao Lei smiled. If I wasn't talking to you, I would go up too. The most handsome man at the school came, and he's still that handsome. I wonder if he would remember you. Pity, if you weren't going to graduate at that time, perhaps you would even be his girlfriend. Su Jingwen also stayed silent briefly. She knew Suo Lin, of course. She was the only man she had a good impression of at the school. He could be said to be invincibly handsome and was skilled in many ways. It could be said that there was more than a battalion of girls chasing after her, but he never seemed to have any negative news. When they were nearing graduation, Suo Lin started to chase after her. Although she was a school queen at the time, she was very low-key and so she wasn't ranked number 1. To be honest, she really didn't feel against Suo Lin chasing her. Perhaps it was just as Xiao Lei said, if it wasn't nearing graduation, perhaps she would have accepted it. Ever after graduation, she specially kept notice of Suo Lin. She heard he entered the entertainment industry and she stopped following his news. She didn't expect him to be here this time. They were not in the same class, of course. Haha, I heard Xu Xiao say that the student reunion of Yang Uni was here, so I came too. It seems I'm still quite welcomed. So many old friends, long time no see. Suo Lin scanned the surrounding and looked at everyone. Handsome Suo, you are a famous movie star, would you even remember us, normal citizens? A girl immediately said. Suo Lin had seen Su Jingwen who was sitting with Xiao Lei and his eyes brightened up. He immediately said, haha, I'm not famous, I just debuted and made a few ads. But if you don't look down on me, you can take photos with me if you wish. Then, he didn't wait for these girls to talk before walking towards Su Jingwen. Jingwen, long time no see. Suo Lin's smile was still so mesmerizing. Su Jingwen also smiled. You're famous now. You may not see us, but we always see you on the screen. Xiao Lei also said. If you are really like that light thief you acted as and can fly into the air, I will start chasing you immediately. Before Su Lin said anything, Su Jingwen smiled. He does not need you to chase, he has a bunch of people chasing after him. No matter how many pursuers I have, they can't compare with you two beautiful ladies, Suo Lin smiled and said. He paused before continuing, Jingwen, I signed a new movie and I feel you are suited for the female lead role. Would you be interested? And of course, Xiao Lei can also act as the second major female role. Really? What movie? Xiao Lei asked in curiosity. Su Jingwen smiled. Although she wasn't an actor, she was very clear about the dark deals that went on the entertainment industry. So she stood up and said, Sorry, I'm not really interested in that. You're looking for Xiao Lei, right? I'm going back. Xiao Lei, remember to come my house after the reunion. Jingwen, you're leaving? Wait, I'll go with you. I still have something I need to ask you. Then, Xiao Lei also stood up. Jingwen, you're not gonna go as soon as you see me, right? This reunion hasn't even started. Suo Lin immediately said. He just realized that Su Jingwen was prettier than the prettiest girl in their uni at that time. No wonder young Master Peng wanted her. If he didn't come today, he really wouldn't know that she was this pretty. Su Jingwen just smiled and said, Nah, I really have something to do. Seeing that Su Jingwen was leaving without even staying for long, many fellow classmates tried to persuade her to stay, but she was adamant on leaving. She found that a lot of her classmates seemed so distant and couldn't find the same feelings back then. There was no point in her staying. Okay then, I'll drive you guys, Suo Lin immediately said. Su Jingwen turned around and said, No need, Suo Lin, I have my own car. Suo Lin smiled and said, I'm also preparing to go, but you have a car and I don't. Do you mind if I take a ride with you guys? Su Jingwen hesitated and frowned. Sorry, Suo Lin, no guy has come into my car, so, she suddenly remembered Yimo, didn't he sit in her car before? Rate translation quality 1 comments join in Google Tag. CMD push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter ad 159. Suo Lin was at a loss for words, but soon he recovered to normal. He immediately said, At least I can accompany you guys downstairs, right? Suo Lin was at a loss for words, but soon he recovered to normal. He immediately said, At least I can accompany you guys downstairs, right? Su Jingwen didn't detest Suo Lin. Although her impression of him went straight down after he joined the entertainment industry, it wasn't to the degree of detest, unlike Wang Peng, whom she felt very uncomfortable with. After the three spoke for a bit, soon, a black Audi drove near, but Suo Lin stood still. He turned around and said, This car is mine, look. Su Jingwen looked at the Audi and said, Didn't you say you didn't have a car? How come you have one now? Xiao Lei also looked at Suo Lin in confusion. Suo Lin suddenly took out a spray from his pocket and said, Because this. He sprayed a few times at both Su Jingwen and Xiao Lei. Su Jingwen didn't expect that the previous most handsome guy in the uni would be so low. Suo Lin looked at the unconscious Xiao Lei and Su Jingwen before saying, I didn't expect it to be this effective. Of course it's effective, I spent a lot of effort getting this. Well done, Suo Lin, don't worry, I will do what I promised you. A voice sounded behind Suo Lin. Suo Lin said, Of course I will do what young Master Peng tells me to do. I didn't expect Su Jingwen to be this pretty after a few years. However, Wang Peng said, Hurry up and drag them into the car. After that was done, Wang Peng said, No matter how pretty she is, you can only go on Xiao Lei, don't think about Su Jingwen. Of course. Suo Lin laughed. Luo Kang. Although Wu Xueming was killed by Metal Mountain's hands, Otherworldly Entertainment was still the headquarters of Metal River. At the basement of the Otherworldly Entertainment, not only was the bleak man who fought over the space abyssal rock was there, but also the long-haired man who met up with him. Wang Chuan, what did Master say? The bleak man asked. The long-haired man said, Master just called, he said that grass is silver leaf, it's a very precious herb used in ancient martial arts cultivation. Even amongst the hidden sects, it is very precious. He complimented us. He has planted those now and would come here in 2 days. The bleak man felt relieved. Last time, he lost the spirit sensing stone, so his master was very angry. Seeing the bleak man's reaction, Wang Chuan said again, Shu Mu, master is still angry about losing the spirit sensing stone last time. Although we managed to find the silver leaf, we still can't relax on the spirit sensing stone. Master thinks that since the silver leaf is in Luo Kang, then perhaps the spirit sensing stone is also here. Perhaps they are on the same person. Thus, master will come over in 2 days to check personally. We shouldn't go alert them now. If master can find the spirit sensing stone, then he'll sure be able to break through. Shu Mu shook his head and said, it probably won't be. I investigated that Yu Erhu is just a normal doctor. He probably thought of the silver leaf as a herb, and is only an ordinary person himself, nothing to suspect. Wang Chuan nodded. That's true, master will come to check himself. As long as that person is in Luo Kang, he definitely wouldn't be able to escape from master. However, that Yu Erhu might have someone behind him. Call Wu Hong over here and get him to ask about the person behind Yu Erhu, Shu Mu immediately ordered. Yes. Wu Hong came to the basement in the shortest time. Although Wu Hong originally served Wu Xueming, he immediately turned to the new people here, Shu Mu and Wang Chuan, after Wu Xueming died. Not only did he reveal all of Wu Xueming's secrets, but he also did things fast. Thus, they were very happy with Wu Hong. Wu Hong, do you know who is behind Yu Erhu? Shu Mu asked in a satisfied manner, seeing Wu Hong came in so quick. Wu Hong immediately thought of Yi Mo and said, he has a master called Yi Mo, and this Yi Mo was very close to Wu Xueming. He has a master who knows Wu Xueming. Why didn't you report this? Shu Mu immediately thought of the spirit sensing stone. Wu Hong shakily replied, it was because I had to deal with so much things lately that I forgot. Please forgive me, brother Shu. Wang Chuan said, indeed, Wu Hong has been quite busy lately and did a lot of things. Plus, he didn't know that Yi Mo would be related to Silver Leaf. Plus, even we only just knew the worth of the silver leaf. We shouldn't blame him. Shu Mu nodded. Since Yu Erhu still has a master Yi Mo, then should we go now and see that Yi Mo? Wang Chuan nodded and said, yes, I agree. Perhaps the master's guess is right. That Yi Mo is the person who took our spirit sensing stone. Clap clap, a monotone clap sounded at the door, and at the same time, a cold voice sounded, not bad, you are both very smart. I am the one who took your so-called spirit sensing stone. Oh, I'm Yi Mo, to prevent you from going out of your way, I came here just for you. Who? Despite Yi Mo said he was Yi Mo, Shu Mu and Wang Chuan was still startled by this sudden voice. They were in the basement with many layers of guards and defense, so how could a stranger come in? Yi Mo, how did you come in? Shu Mu and Wang Chuan didn't know Yi Mo, but Wu Hong did. Yi Mo sneered. Of course, by walking in. Shu Mu and Wang Chuan had caught up with reality. Shu Mu's bleak face showed a sliver of cruelty. No matter how Yi Mo came in, since he didn't need to leave. You stole the spirit sensing stone? Shu Mu had recognized that Yi Mo was the person who fought over the stone with him. Yi Mo smiled and took out the unused space abyssal rock and said, idiot, it's called space abyssal rock. Indeed, I took it, and there's still more than half here. Shu Mu's face was filled with joy. He didn't think that Yi Mo would be so dumb to bring the spirit sensing stone. He immediately said, capture him. As soon as Shu Mu said that, the tens of henchmen charged at Yi Mo. It could be seen they were waiting for the order. Although Yi Mo didn't have metal nails, but he no longer needed that now. He didn't even use wind blade and just kicked. Shadows of kicks flew out. Thud, thud, thud. Yi Mo didn't miss a single kick, and none of the henchmen he kicked out could even move. Obviously, Yi Mo pretty much killed them with one kick. Shu Mu and Wang Chuan stood up in fear. Although they knew that since Yi Mo would have some strength since he dared to walk in here, but they didn't expect him to be this strong. Although any of them could take on those henchmen, but they definitely wouldn't be able to do it as easy as Yi Mo, much less killing them all. Originally, the two were planning to attack Yi Mo while he was distracted, but they didn't expect to have all his underlings defeated with a flurry of shadow kicks. Yi Mo was very satisfied with his kicks. He learned this from Wu Qiong. Wu Qiong's attack was not only fast but powerful. Yi Mo took it for himself and changed it a little bit, making it his. Wu Hong looked at Yi Mo in terror. Yi Mo's power was far out of his expectation. No wonder he could be friends with Wu Xueming. However, what scared Wu Hong the most wasn't Yi Mo's power, but his attitude of killing without flinching at all. Even in gang battles, no one dared to kill more than 10 people in the city. However, Yi Mo killed more than 10 in the blink of an eye, and after he did, he was still very calm. It was as though he didn't kill people but ants. You are so cruel, you actually killed them all. Even Wang Chuan felt shivers by Yi Mo's killing attitude. Although they were ferocious and aggressive, they really didn't kill much. Yi Mo smiled and said, I came to kill tonight, it just started, what are you worrying about? Who are you? Why are you messing with the metal river? Shu Mu was also scared by Yi Mo's killing methods. Yi Mo smiled and said, I messed with your metal river. Didn't you just say you were going to mess with me? Shu Mu was at a loss for words, and Yi Mo couldn't be bothered talking to him. He continued, if it's messing with metal river, then I'll tell you. If it wasn't due to Wu Xueming, I would have long killed all of Metal River in Luokang last time. Do you think you have the capability for me to mess with? I just killed Chen Longtu from Siena Peninsula a few days ago, so I didn't expect to be killing at Metal River so quick now. Life is really a wonder. What? You killed Chen Longtu? Shu Mu and Wang Chuan finally couldn't keep calm anymore as their face showed extreme shock. Rate translation quality 2 comments join in Google Tag. CMD push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter add 160. Chapter 161, Annihilation of Luokang Metal River. Chapter 161, Annihilation of Luokang Metal River. So what if you killed Chen Longtu? I can kill him too if he was in front of me. Wang Chuan suppressed his shock and tried to boost himself some courage. He jumped up and charged towards Yi Mo, ignoring the reality about Yi Mo killing Chen Longtu. Yi Mo looked at the scary temperamental Wang Chuan and his bulging fists. However, he shook his head. Wang Chuan was a far cry from Lang Ji. He was only a little stronger than that Pu Dongheng he met at Ninghai. Yi Mo didn't even move, and when Wang Chuan was close to him, he sliced his hand in the air towards Wang Chuan's lower body. It was the first time Yi Mo used Wind Blade in battle. If he wasn't only at Stage 3 Kai Gathering, he didn't even need to wave his hand and only needed a hand sign. At the moment, he still needed to incorporate movement to use it. And with his current cultivation Kai, he couldn't continuously use Wind Blade, he could only use it 5 or 6 times at most. Shu Mu looked at Yi Mo who stood still with bewilderment. The moment when the latter just sliced through the air, Shu Mu felt even more shocked. What was Yi Mo doing? Seeing that Wang Chuan's fist was just about to hit Yi Mo, Shu Mu also didn't think before grabbing a short knife from his waist and charging over. Shu Mu was much faster than Wang Chuan and arrived first. At the same time, he stabbed his knife towards Yi Mo's waist. Peng! Peng! Shu Mu felt his knife had stabbed Yi Mo and rejoiced, thinking that the latter was only at this level. But soon, Shu Mu noticed something wasn't right. Since his knife hit Yi Mo, it shouldn't make that sound. Just when Shu Mu wanted to take a proper look, he saw the bottom of a foot kicking towards his face. He didn't even have the reaction to dodge as he was sent flying meters away. Wang Chuan, who was still in the air, suddenly felt a cold wind slicing towards him. This feeling was very weird. If he had something in his hand, he really wanted to block it, but before he relinquished this thought, he felt his legs were swept by this frosty wind. He found that his lower body seemed lighter and pain seemed to be reaching up. The next moment, he could no longer go forward and just fell to the ground as his legs were severed in mid-air. He fell unconscious due to the pain. Shu Mu crawled up immediately. Before he had time to celebrate that he wasn't heavily wounded, he felt blood rush up his throat as he spat it out. At this moment, he felt as though his organs had moved places. But Shu Mu didn't have the mood to check his own injuries and just held the knife while dazedly stopping his steps. At this moment, his thought froze. He was just thinking again and again why Wang Chuan suddenly fell down and lost his legs. Could that swipe in the air cut off legs? Looking at Wang Chuan in a pool of blood, terror overcame Xu Mu as he subconsciously took a step back. Wu Hong looked at the bloody scene with a pale face. Even though he had been in gangs for a long time, he had never seen such a bloody scene. Meanwhile, Yi Mo was very calm facing this scene. It was as though it wasn't blood on the ground but just some water. What power was this, cutting off Wang Chuan's legs with a swipe? Xu Mu kept asking himself. Even if his master came, he wouldn't be able to do that. Yi Mo wasn't someone he could stop. No wonder he could take away the spirit sensing stone without him noticing. If he also swiped at his leg like that and not kick on his face, then what would happen to him? Xu Mu subconsciously looked at his feet. His bleak face was pale. Clank. Xu Mu finally couldn't endure the terror in his heart. His knife dropped to the floor making a crisp sound. Yi Mo walked over to a chair and sat down before looking at Wu Hong and said, "Last time, I said that I didn't annihilate this place because of courtesy to Wu Xueming. Since you pissed me off once again, and I still owe Wu Xueming, I will kill you all today." There was no more blood on Wu Hong's face at all. He always thought that last time, Yi Mo came to beg to Wu Xueming, but now, he realized that Yi Mo never even had Metal River in his eyes from start to beginning. Yi Mo didn't pay more attention to Wu Hong and looked at Xu Mu. "I didn't kill you just then, and neither did I heavily injure you. Now, you answer a few questions for me. Don't make my mood bad. First question, how did you discover the silver heart grass?" Silver heart grass? Xu Mu soon realized that Yi Mo should be talking about silver leaf. Xu Mu looked at Wang Chuan who was unconscious on the ground and subconsciously wiped sweat from his forehead. He felt his hand was shaking. He even felt that Yi Mo was the real gangster. Their Metal River compared to him couldn't be more innocent and kind. He looked once again at Yi Mo's calm eyes and could no longer bear that suffocating silence. He said with fear, "I'm naturally sensitive to precious herbs and ores. I can feel them even 10 or 20 meters away. Because I will be frequently staying in Luokang, so I was prepared to buy a mansion. Coincidentally, there was a mansion on sale near the place Erhu was living at, so I went to look at the house and found the silver leaf. At that time, I felt this thing wasn't ordinary and called my master. He told me to immediately dig it out and bring it back to Hong Kong." Yi Mo looked at Xu Mu in surprise. Sensitivity to spiritual things, this was a heavenly spiritual talent. Even in the cultivation realm, a heavenly spiritual talent only appeared in more than thousands of years. He didn't think he would meet a heavenly spiritual talent on this spirit-deprived Irath. If Xu Mu was in the cultivation realm, he would be fought over by countless sects. Yi Mo calmed down after a long while. He really didn't expect there to be a heavenly spiritual talent. If Xu Mu were to cultivate, he would be much faster than him even if the environment was spirit Kai deprived. Although Yi Mo didn't know what spiritual talent he had, but he probably had some since he could cultivate. However, judging from his speed, it shouldn't be too high. Just when Xu Mu looked at Yi Mo in uncertainty, Yi Mo suddenly waved his hand once again and hit the hand which Wu Hong was dialing a phone with. The hand fell to the ground. Wu Hong and Xu Mu both looked at Yi Mo in astonishment. He didn't know why Yi Mo would cut off one of Wu Hong's hand for no reason. However, Yi Mo looked plainly at Wu Hong and said, "You still have 3 chances to dial the police, but after 3 times, you won't have arms or legs to dial numbers with." Wu Hong immediately started to shake. He didn't even let Yi Mo see him dial the phone, so how did Yi Mo know he was calling the police? But he understood that if he was not going to listen, then all his ligaments would be severed. Yi Mo seemed to love cutting people's ligaments off. This man was too terrifying. But soon, Wu Hong discovered that although his hand was cut off, the blood was flowing very slowly. "You don't need to look. I'm not letting blood flow out too much so you can do things faster. If you still waste time, then you don't need to call anymore," Yi Mo's cold voice sounded. Then, Yi Mo looked at Xu Mu and said, "Is your master from the hidden sects? Do you know the way to enter the hidden sects? And, why does your master want the space abyssal rock and silver heart grass?" 2 hours later, Yimo walked out of the basement of the otherworldly entertainment. He didn't hold back this time. He pretty much killed all the heads of Metal River in Luokang. Other than helping Wu Xueming, Yimo also knew that if he were to stay in Luokang, it would be better to annihilate such a power. In that night, he killed the most since he was reborn. Even last time in the desert, he didn't kill this much. Then, with a ball of fire, all the evidence was burned to ashes. Since Shu Mu's master thought of the space abyssal rock as spirit-sensing rock, then it meant that there must be more of it on Earth. Would Daoist Xian know about this type of rock? According to Shu Mu, Daoist Xian knew how to enter the hidden sects because he was from the hidden sects himself. This filled Yimo with anticipation. Although the hidden sects people didn't come out to the mortal world, who knew if one day the strong people in the hidden sects would gang up on him? He eventually had to prepare for it. At least, if he could enter the hidden sects, then he could see their true power. Now, Yimo almost made no progress in his cultivation. This wasn't something that could be changed with hard work. Even in the cultivation realm, it was normal to spend decades on the 12 stages of Kai gathering. Some people wouldn't be able to reach the peak of Kai gathering their entire life. There would be 2 more days before Daoist Xian would arrive at Luokang. Perhaps at that time, he would be able to get something useful out of his mouth. At least, Daoist Xian would know more than that Wu Guangmong. If Wu Guang didn't want to say, Yimo couldn't force him, but if Xian Daoist didn't say anything, then he wouldn't be polite anymore. After Yimo killed all of Metal River in Luokang, he left the otherworldly entertainment as though nothing had happened. But the second day, Luokang was in turmoil. All of Metal River's men just realized that their superiors were gone and had disappeared completely. Panic covered the underground world in Luokang, but soon people realized that something happened to Metal River at Luokang. All the hoodlums started to run. Su Jingwen and Xiao Lei woke up very soon. Su Jingwen found that she and Xiao Lei had been brought inside a room. Although their hands weren't tied up, they felt weak and couldn't even stand up. Su Jingwen and Xiao Lei woke up very soon. Su Jingwen found that she and Xiao Lei had been brought inside a room. Although their hands weren't tied up, they felt weak and couldn't even stand up. Su Jingwen looked at Wang Peng and Suo Lin, who sat opposite, and immediately understood that they were drugged. Xiao Lei encountered this situation more than Su Jingwen and also understood what had happened. "What do you want?" Xiao Lei didn't even look at Suo Lin. Not long ago, Suo Lin was still a handsome god to her, but now, he was just a scum. Originally, Suo Lin was prepared to explain to their approach, but he didn't expect Xiao Lei and Su Jingwen to pretend he didn't exist. This ruined his mood. "Wang Peng, you're really despicable. Even if you have us through this means, you think you can run away? Unless you kill me. Even if you kill me, you won't live a stable life. Do you think your father's status can protect you? Quit dreaming." Su Jingwen seemed very calm. As long as Wang Peng felt threatened, then Suo Lin was nothing. Wang Peng's eyes showed indifference. "Jingwen, how have I treated you, don't you understand? When your mother was angry, I ran around everywhere for you and even contacted hospitals. But how did you treat me? It isn't much to say you were heartless. You know your father also wanted to introduce me to you. Although my father is the director of the organization, but he is important for your father's future career. Plus, am I not worthy of you?" Su Jingwen sneered and didn't even say anything this time. "Jingwen, we haven't seen each other for a few years, so I feel sorry doing this to you the first time we meet. But, I'm also doing this for your benefit. It's true that we're going to be filming a movie. This time, the Song family is investing in it, and young Master Peng will advertise it. I'm the main character, and you are the female main character. I'm sure you will be famous immediately. Plus, you know young Master Peng's family conditions. There's no harm for you," Suo Lin said after noticing that everyone ignored him. At this moment, Xiao Lei suddenly looked at Suo Lin and coldly said, "Scum." Suo Lin's face immediately turned pale. He stared at Xiao Lei and said, "Xiao Lei, don't look too high of yourself. You're just a secondary item. Since you want to follow Su Jingwen, then don't blame me. After you enter this circle, You will know I'm doing this for your benefit. Young Master Peng, I will be helping Xiao Lei change her views first. Seeing that Suo Lin was coming to pull Xiao Lei's clothes, Su Jingwen suddenly felt disappointment. She wasn't disappointed at Suo Lin, but at herself for having a good impression towards such a scum. Was it just because he was a little handsome? Stop. Although Xiao Lei wanted to maintain her composure, she couldn't stay calm when Suo Lei was actually coming to tear off her clothes. Although Suo Lin stopped, he smiled. Xiao Lei, I admit you're very pretty, but I've also cared a lot of girls prettier than you. Perhaps once you enter our circle, you'll realize how pathetic your resistance is today. Of course, I know that you think I'm ting now. I won't explain to you. Don't worry, regardless of whether it's your first time, I will still be very gentle. Su Jingwen coldly stared at Suo Lin, who was not far away. She still seemed calm though. Jingwen. Xiao Lei's calmness was pretended, but she didn't know if Su Jingwen was pretending. She had experienced much more than Su Jingwen. There was no reason Su Jingwen wasn't to be scared. At this time, Xiao Lei called out to her helplessly. She thought of that day when she went to Flowing Snake and Yimo jumped from the sky. She then thought of Wang Qianjun. What difference was there between him and this Suo Lin in front of her? Although Su Jingwen's calmness wasn't completely fake, only she knew that her hand was shaking. She didn't even want another guy to enter her car, so how could she be willing to be raped? At this moment, she held a spirit cleansing charm. She didn't know if it was useful for this sedative, but if it was, she would throw out the fireball immediately. At this moment, she only had enough strength to hold the spirit cleansing charm but couldn't throw it out. If she threw the fireball charm now, she wouldn't even be able to throw it on them. Xiao Lei, grab my hand, Su Jingwen suddenly said. Xiao Lei stared nervously at Suo Lin. She subconsciously grabbed Su Jingwen's hand after she was told. Lin. Su Jingwen grabbed the charm and read. Even that used up all of her strength. Charm? Wang Peng subconsciously said. Before he could react, the spirit cleansing charm turned into a cool weak light spraying onto Su Jingwen and Xiao Lei. Tie them up. As soon as Wang Peng finished, Su Jingwen had dragged Xiao Lei many steps back, having a standoff with opposite party. What happened? Young Master Peng? Didn't you say that the spray would make them powerless for 24 hours? How come they look like they recovered, and what was that white light? Suo Lin looked at Su Jingwen and Xiao Lei in shock. Although he was shocked, he wasn't scared at all. After all, it was two girls. So what if they recovered their strength? This was a hotel, not their home. Wang Peng's face sunk and replied, it should be charms. She has a few of them. Didn't think these things would really work. I forgot that she even had them. What? Suo Lin looked at Wang Peng in more astonishment. If Wang Peng wasn't the son of a high-up government official, he would have swore at him already. Charms? What T? Even Wang Peng didn't really believe that the charms Su Jingwen would really work. What? Jingwen? Even Xiao Lei knew that she had recovered. Su Jingwen had used this spirit cleansing charm before and knew it was authentic. Now that Xiao Lei asked, she held the fireball charm in her hand and said, I'll tell you this later. Wang Peng's face changed as he looked at Su Jingwen and Xiao Lei. He wasn't sure if Su Jingwen still had charms. If she still had attack charms, then he really felt threatened. If only he knew earlier, he would have tied them up. After a while, Wang Peng thought that if Su Jingwen really had an attack charm, then it would be suicide if he rushed up now. And judging how she had one hand in her pocket, it was really hard to say. However, it seemed that this charm couldn't attack too far. He only needed to not get too close to her. Thinking about this, Wang Peng ignored Suo Lin and carefully walked to the tea table. Then he quickly grabbed a heat-preserving bottle and threw it towards Su Jingwen's head. As long as he beat down Su Jingwen and not give her time to activate the charm, then Xiao Lei wouldn't be a concern. Suo Lin froze the moment he saw Wang Peng throw out that bottle. Wang Peng was just saying how pretty Su Jingwen was, but now, he was merciless. If this bottle were to hit her face, then she would be in a serious condition. Su Jingwen stared in anger at Wang Peng and Suo Lin. As soon as they came in front of her, she would use the fireball charm. She knew that the charm wouldn't be able to hit the two if they were too far. She only had one fireball charm, so she only had one chance. But she didn't expect Wang Peng to be suspicious of her having more charms after seeing her use one. The sinister Wang Peng actually quickly grabbed a bottle and threw it at her. Su Jingwen's heart immediately sunk. She regretted not attacking herself. Now, she was on the passive end. However, she didn't have time to use the fireball charm with the speed the bottle was coming at her. Bang! There was a crisp sound. No one expected that the bottle didn't hit Su Jingwen but was stopped in front of Su Jingwen by a light barrier. The bottle flew back at a faster speed and hit Wang Peng right on the face. Wang Peng didn't even moan before falling to the ground, obviously knocked out. Suo Lin and Xiao Lei were shocked by this magical scene. They could no longer react, but Su Jingwen did. Although she didn't know what had happened, but she knew now was her best chance to counterattack. She took the fireball charm, walked up a few steps, and threw it towards Suo Lin while saying, "Lin." Before Suo Lin could react, he was immediately surrounded by a ball of fire. He howled and rolled on the ground before soon passing out like Wang Peng. The charm Yi Mo sold Su Jingwen was the lowest grade fireball. It wasn't enough to take Suo Lin's life, but soon, he was burned into deformity by the fireball. Not only was all his hair burned, but his face was also a charcoaled mess. He shriveled on the ground while constantly spasming. "Jingwen, what was that? What just happened?" Xiao Lei reacted and pulled Su Jingwen over while asking in shock. "I just used a fireball charm to beat Suo Lin. Quick, let's call someone." Su Jingwen looked at Suo Lin, who was burnt black. Although she was scared, but she felt more satisfaction. "Charm, it's really charms, was what Cheng Fei said true?" Xiao Lei murmured to herself. "We'll talk about this later, call first," Su Jingwen said. "Call the police." Xiao Lei also calmed down. Su Jingwen shook her head. "We can't call the police, who knows if Wang Peng has made some arrangements. I'll call my dad." Then Su Jingwen immediately dialed her dad's number. After the call, Su Jingwen saw Xiao Lei start to tie up Wang Peng while in a daze. She suddenly thought of something. What was that light barrier that blocked Wang Peng's bottle? Tim TL message, "Come join our Discord server. https://discord. GGZPY 8R7 rate translation quality 3 comments join in Google tag. CMD push, function, Google tag. Display, chapter ad 162. Su Jingwen felt that light barrier came from her wrist. She even heard a small explosion at that time. She subconsciously looked at her wrist. One bead was missing from the 3-beaded bracelet. She then looked around and was sure that it was gone. Su Jingwen felt that light barrier came from her wrist. She even heard a small explosion at that time. She subconsciously looked at her wrist. One bead was missing from the 3-beaded bracelet. She then looked around and was sure that it was gone. She originally stored this bracelet away but then felt that it was a birthday present Yi Mo gave her and even gave another 3 beads to Ning Qingxue, which was very disrespectful to Yi Mo. Plus, this was the only birthday gift she received that was made by that person, so she wore this one her wrist. Was it because of the bracelet that stopped the bottle? Su Jingwen took her bracelet off in shock and disbelief. "Jingwen, what's wrong?" Xiao Lei spent a lot of effort to tie up Wang Peng. She saw Su Jingwen in deep thought, so she asked. "I understand now," Su Jingwen murmured. 6 beads of safety. So that's what it meant. She gave 3 beads to Ning Qingxue, meaning she gave her 3 times of safety. Meanwhile, Yi Mo gave her this bracelet to save her 6 times. He didn't tell her the use of the bracelet, but only said that if she cherished it, then she would be safe. If she didn't and treated it like a normal present, then it wouldn't be of any use. But she didn't cherish it and gave 3 beads to Ning Qingxue for no reason. Luckily, she still wore the remaining 3. Why did Yi Mo give her something so precious? Where did he get this? Su Jingwen suddenly remembered how she met Yi Mo. It was because she thought Yi Mo was that charm master, and that's how they got to know each other. Charm Master? Su Jingwen felt shocked. She finally understood that Yi Mo was the person who sold her the charms. She didn't recognize the wrong person, but he just didn't admit it. Why didn't he admit it? Su Jingwen thought and immediately understood. His powers were too shocking. He didn't want to expose himself. After all, she wasn't close with him. How did he know if she would expose him? Su Jingwen suddenly felt the remaining 2 beads on the bracelet and felt regret. Even the actual worth of the bracelet was worth thousands of times more than all the presents she received on that day, much less the one Yi Mo made himself. She suddenly remembered that Cheng Fei said her cousin met that man who sold necklaces and pills. That person must be Yi Mo. Yi Mo's eyes were very bright and wore very modest clothes. Her mother was saved by Yi Mo, and even now, she was saved by his bracelet and charms. Meanwhile, she was still looking for the person who sold her the charms. Her mother had always wanted to see the master who saved her, and now, she only needed to find Yi Mo Jingwen. What was that? And what was the charms you were talking about? At this moment, Xiao Lei asked again. Before Su Jingwen answered, the door was knocked and soon kicked open. Su Jianzhong was the first to run in. Seeing that Su Jingwen was fine, he gasped a sigh of relief. Jingwen, are you all right? Xiao Lei saw that Su Jingwen's father had came and also felt relieved. She was a journalist and quickly retold what had happened. Looking at Wang Peng, who was still unconscious, she felt relieved that she wouldn't be troubled by that guy anymore. She guessed that in the end, this Wang Peng would only be sentenced a year or so, but Suo Lin will be the sacrificial goat. Jingwen, when you go out now, have Xiao Yu with you. Su Jianzhong didn't dare to reproach Su Jingwen too much. He was already very happy that Su Jingwen could call him first. I understand. Su Jingwen surprisingly didn't argue with her father. Although she answered her father, she was still lost in thought. However, Xiao Lei asked, Jingwen, you've been thinking a while ago, what are you thinking about? Luo Kang? Su Jingwen didn't pay attention to Xiao Lei's words and thought of Luo Kang instead. Since Yi Mo appeared at the Luo Kang magical artifact social night, it meant that he was living in Luo Kang. Suddenly, Su Jingwen thought of Ning Qingxue. Wasn't she also living at Luo Kang? Could it be Ning Qingxue and Yi Mo had gotten back together? Su Jingwen sighed. Ning Qingxue and Yi Mo lived together, so why should an outsider like her go to Luo Kang? To Third Wheel? Never mind, she would call Ning Qingxue a few days later and invite her and Yi Mo to her house. Sigh, she gave half of what Yi Mo gave to her to Ning Qingxue. She wondered if Yi Mo would judge her. Perhaps in his eyes, she was no longer worth to be his friend. After all, he was that type of magical person. Someone like this was actually kicked out by the Yi family as an abandoned son. Yi Mo's family must have mental issues. And they called him that. No matter what they said, Su Jingwen wouldn't believe it. Yi Mo could cure her mum who was unconscious for a few years with just one charm, so how could he be that? Luo Kang's chaos passed in one day, and soon the police of Luo Kang found the change. It seemed that Metal River had left Luo Kang. In one night, Luo Kang had become a much more secure place without those troublemakers with powerful supports. Of course, Metal Mountain knew of Luo Kang's change very fast. In that big Luo Kang, there was not a person from Metal River he could contact, and soon, he felt something wasn't right. Even if the police had a sudden raid, they couldn't be this clean. Who would have such means to eradicate all of Luo Kang Metal River in one go? Nanqing wouldn't be able to do it even if they were fine, much less that Qian Longchu was dead and Nanqing was in a mess. Originally, he wanted to talk to Daoist Xian about the situation, but he was on the plane. After Daoist Xian got off at Luo Kang Airport, he felt something strange. He had arrived at Luo Kang and told his 2 disciples the time, but why didn't they come to greet him? You are Daoist Xian? Yi Mo drove a rented car and saw a Daoist walk out of the airport from a long way away. Although he made Shu Mu describe very clearly, he didn't even need to recognize by the face when there was a Daoist walking out of the airport. Daoist Xian had a white face with no moustache. He was medium build and wore a blue Daoist robe. Luckily, he didn't have a hair needle, or else that would attract more attention. However, Yimo felt this Daoist Xian wasn't simple. He could usually tell how strong a person was, but only this Daoist Xian he could not. Who are you? Daoist Xian knew Yimo was definitely not here to meet him. The people his two disciples sent wouldn't have such courage calling him Daoist Xian. Yimo laughed and said, "Of course I'm here to bring you to your two disciples. But don't worry, the place they are now is relatively safe. What did you do to Shu Mu and Wang Chuan?" Xiao Daoist immediately knew that not only was Yimo not here to pick him up, but was instead here for trouble. Yimo sneered. "Xiao Daoist, your disciples say you're someone great, but don't tell me you don't dare to go on my car. HMPH, drive." Daoist Xian wouldn't think of Yimo as a threat. No matter how much people Yimo had, he wouldn't be afraid. He had cultivated ancient martial arts to the peak of black level, so it could be said that there was rarely anyone who would dare to mess with him. Even if Yimo brought him to a cave of tigers and dragons, he would dare to challenge it. Yimo knew that someone like Daoist Xian would definitely go on his car due to his confidence. Yimo knew from Shu Mu that the reason Nanqing didn't dare to touch Metal River was due to his master Daoist Xian. It could make Qian Longtu, who had Wu Chong, feel threatened. It could be seen that Daoist Xian was not bad, and he indeed couldn't tell how strong Daoist Xian was. He heard Shu Mu say that the reason Daoist Xian came to Luokang so urgently was because he found silver heartgrass, and another reason was Yimo's space abyssal rock. Daoist Xian indeed didn't consider Yimo's gang a threat. He believed Yimo had more people with him. Of course, they didn't how scary someone who cultivated ancient martial arts to his degree would be. Perhaps they only knew that Shu Mu and Wang Chuan was his disciple. With a disciple like that, the master couldn't be much stronger. If they really thought that way, he didn't mind showing them some power later. He would make the bold people fear and beg him before killing them. "Why did you drive the car here?" Daoist Xian reacted and found that Yimo had driven the car to a barren place in the rural area. Yimo walked off the car and said, "Come down, Daoist Xian. I've already sent your disciples, Shu Mu and Wang Chuan, to the underworld. You don't need to worry, you will soon go see them. You killed them." Daoist Xian's tone sounded calm without any discernible anger, but Yimo could see from his eyes that Daoist Xian was incredibly angry. Yimo smiled and said, "Yes, not only did I kill Shu Mu, but also Wang Chuan. Oh, I also eradicated Metal River in Luokang. Young man, do you think you can be so arrogant after practicing a few years of ancient martial arts? Tell me, why did you kill my disciples? Don't worry, I'll teach you true regret later." Daoist Xian could no longer stay calm as his face turned green. He wasn't even interested in knowing Yimo's name. Yimo knocked the hood of the car and said, "Because they stole my silver heartgrass and beat my disciple, so I killed them. Good, 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 I will satisfy you. Punk, I will make sure you're satisfied." Daoist Xian could no longer resist his anger and wanted to attack. However, Yimo waved his hand once again and said, "Don't rush, do you know this?" Then, Yimo took out the space abyssal rock. Rate translation quality no comments. Be the first. Google tag. CMD push, function, Google tag. Display, chapter ad 163. Daoist Xian's eyes focused and spat, "Spirit sensing stone? Quick, show me." Daoist Xian's eyes focused and spat, "Spirit sensing stone? Quick, show me." Daoist Xian had completely forgotten who Yimo was. In his eyes, there was only this rock who could help him break through. At this moment, Yimo put the stone away. "Not bad, you've seen this before. Tell me, where did you see it? Punk, give the stone over." Daoist Xian saw Yimo put the stone away and his mouth turned hideous. He completely forgot his two disciples were killed and casually took out a whip from his waist. Yimo was dazed. Why did these ancient martial arts people all like to use whips? But soon, he realized that this was a legal issue in society. If one carried a big sword around everywhere, then they would probably be invited to the police station. And, the ancient martial arts cultivators here didn't have storage devices, so they could only carry it with them. A whip was the best choice. Yimo smiled and said, "You can't threaten me, you can try if you don't believe me." Daoistzian calmed down and took a careful look at Yimo but couldn't see how he wasn't ordinary. The only thing was that he was too calm. No matter what, it was a big loot if he could get the spirit sensing stone. It was a pity that Shumu was killed. Shumu had helped him a lot. Yimo had a lot of questions to ask Daoistzian. He could make Lang Ji lose his mind for a brief moment, but that was because Lang Ji was far inferior to him. To this Daoistzian, however, Yimo wasn't sure if it would work. If it didn't, it would damage his memory instead. Yimo was sure Daoistzian wasn't a match for him, but before they fought against each other, he still didn't the extent of the latter's strength. "Do you believe me I can crush this stone with my hands?" Yimo saw that Daoistzian was thinking about something. He knew that Daoistzian wanted to catch him off guard. Daoistzian suddenly sneered. "Do you think you can get away today?" "That's another thing, but I want to ask you now. Do you know about the hidden sects? Did you come from the hidden sects? If you answer me, I can let you touch this stone," Yimo confidently said. Daoistzian was so angry he laughed instead. This young man didn't know what death meant. The reason he didn't move was just as Yimo said. He was afraid Yimo would shatter the stone. Daoistzian looked at Yimo's hand, hesitated for a moment before saying, "Okay, listen up. I'm from the hidden sects. The hidden sects are sects that are hidden, so they don't walk around in the normal world. Of course, there are individuals who does. In that case, the hidden sects are either hidden in the depth of the mountains or deserted places." Yimo immediately asked. Daoistzian sneered. "There are indeed a lot of sects hidden in these places you said, but there are some that are in the normal world. Perhaps in some boisterous market or a small mansion. As for how to get to the hidden sects, I only know how to get to my sect." "Then how do you enter the hidden sects?" Yimo didn't expect that they could be hidden in cities. Daoistzian sneered. "You think you can get in the hidden sects?" Yimo's face sunk. "Old man, we're have dealing right now. If you don't want the stone, then don't blame me if I crush it." "Wait, I'll tell you." Daoistzian talked till now just for the rock, so how could he let Yimo break it? Yimo had a contemptuous look and said, "You better be specific, don't make me ask you." Daoistzian was so angry to the point that he wanted strike, but the stone concerned him progressing so he held back on the thought. He took a deep breath before saying, "Do you think the hidden sects is just ancient martial arts cultivation? There are so many branches, and ancient martial arts is just one of them. And the people from hidden sects who come to the normal world mustn't reveal the location of their base even if they die. Plus, even if they told you, no one would be able to find it." Seeing Yimo's surprised look, Daoistzian sneered before saying, "There are too many branches in the hidden sects. Most of them are studying ancient martial arts, but some don't. Each sect is protected by a formation. These are passed down from the ancient times. Normal people wouldn't be able to notice it at all. There are some of these small dimensions, but some have collapsed. Each of these small dimensions have a formation. Once this formation collapses, the small world disappears with it." Talking to now, Daoistzian seemed to be longing for it too. Yimo asked in surprise, "In that case, each hidden sect has a small dimension. Is your sect in one of them too?" Daoistzian sneered. "Insolent. Do you think it's so easy to find a small dimension? Some of them, even I have only heard of, much less you. Plus, no one can be sure if there are small dimensions in this world. My sect is only a branch of the main sect." Yimo was asking for information from Daoistzian, so he didn't dare to anger him too much. As such, he asked, "What do you mean by that small dimension?" Daoistzian looked at the space abyssal rock in Yimo's hands and estimated if he could grab it while answering. "Those sects with a small dimension are true hidden sects. We call them the inner hidden sects. Other hidden sects are outer hidden sects. Other than this, there are some semi-hidden sects, which include the hidden families and sects in the normal world. However, inner hidden sects are unheard of now, we don't know if they still exist. Most of the hidden sects now are outer hidden sects. Meanwhile, the semi-hidden sects are gradually assimilated by the normal world and can't be truly hidden. Yimo knew that Daoist's attention was focused on his rock, but pretended he didn't know and asked, "Can you tell me a few names of the hidden sects? For example, the sect you're at." Daoist's thought and still hadn't made the decision to rob the stone, so he replied, "Juyun Temple, Cha family of the South River, 4 states 9 moons Daoist Temple. These are all semi-hidden sects." However, Daoist's didn't mention his own sect. Yimo thought, in that case, the sect Luo Susu was at should be outer hidden sects. Even Daoist's didn't know if inner hidden sects existed. Wu Guang Monk's Juyu Temple was only a semi-hidden sect. In that case, no matter how hidden the outer hidden sects were, people should have gone in after such a long time. Yimo thought that as long as it was a place people could walk to, then it could be found. But since it was found, how could it be considered a hidden sect? "You're dreaming." Daoist's sneered once again and said, "Even outer hidden sects are mostly in dangerous mountains and deserted places. Many of them were ruled out by the government. Can't you see there are many places that are prohibited by the country for tourism? Some are because the places are dangerous and many people couldn't come back. But it's very likely that those places are where the hidden sects are. So not only is it hard to go in, but it is also hard for the hidden sect people to come out. Many people won't get a chance to come out their entire lifetime." Yimo suddenly thought of Luo Susu's words. "Don't look for me, it would harm you and me." Thinking about this, Yimo asked once again, "In that case, what if I accidentally enter the outer hidden sects?" Daoist's looked at Yimo in contempt. "You think it's that easy? Plus, even if you did by chance, they could kill you. If you had some potential, perhaps you would stay there your life. If you don't, they would just kill you for no reason." Yimo's heart skipped. Since it was so hard to come in and out of the hidden sects, how did Luo Susu come out last time? From her tone, it was indeed hard. Thinking about Luo Susu, Yimo was lost in thought. Seeing that Yimo was dazed, Daoist's wanted to rob the stone, but then Yimo suddenly asked, "Tell me a way to get in a hidden sect and perhaps I will let you hold this stone for 1 second." Daoist's sneered, but he still said, "Every 3 years, the hidden sects will hold a tournament. This year is the 3rd year. The place is at Wu Liang Mountain. As for the exact location, I don't know." Yimo was very satisfied with Daoist's answer, so he casually threw the stone to Daoist's. "Very well, I'm very happy with your answer. You can hold this for 1 second." Daoist's saw the stone flying at him. His eyes were desperate and didn't even think before grabbing at it. Just when his hand touched the rock for less than 1 second, the rock flew out of his hand and back into Yimo's. Yimo chucked the rock and said, "Okay, I've let you touch it, I'm going to put it away." "Chi control at will?" Daoist's yelled out in shock. Cultivating inner chi to such an extent. Even he couldn't do it now. It would be hard to say if he could do it even if he reached Earth level. After saying this, Daoist's immediately realized Yimo was tricking him. At this time, his whip had flown towards Yimo's head with a sharp howl. TL note: join our Discord channel for Strongest Abandoned Son. If you have questions, suggestions, etc., please don't hesitate to message us directly there. There will be information sheets in the info channel where cultivation states, characters list and pinyin terms list is posted in case you don't understand anything. Here's the Discord link, https://discord. GGZPY8R7 rate translation quality 1 comments join in Google tag. CMD push, function, Google tag. Display, chapter ad 164. If Hu Chou's whips were an onslaught of whip shadows, then Daoist's whip was a screen of whips. Not only did it seal Yimo's front, back, and lateral sides, but it also brought a strong oppressive feeling. If Hu Chou's whips were an onslaught of whip shadows, then Daoist's whip was a screen of whips. Not only did it seal Yimo's front, back, and lateral sides, but it also brought a strong oppressive feeling. Comparatively, Hu Chou's whips were child's play. Yimo was sure that if he was still stage 2 Kai gathering, he would meet his end. This person's whip was too strong, and he was someone who truly cultivated out inner chi. His inner chi was on par with Yimo's kai. It could be said that other than Yimo's identity as a spirit kai cultivator and could use some magic, then he was worse than this Daoist Xian in other aspects. This was because Daoist Xian hadn't progressed. Yimo estimated that even he would be no match for Daoist Xian after he progressed. If Yimo wasn't a cultivator, he could fight in close-ranged battles with Daoist Xian. However, he was indeed a cultivator. Fighting with this Daoist Xian in close range was fighting with a shortcoming to the opponent's strength. Yimo's fists surged with kai and hit out tens of strikes. The fist winds struck with the screen of whips, creating cracking sounds. Daoist Xian took a few steps back and looked at Yimo in shock. He didn't expect that Yimo could stop his whips containing kai with just his fists. The young man looked only in his 20s, so even if he started to train in his mother's womb, he couldn't be a match to him. Yimo struck back Daoist Xian and also took a few steps back. This Daoist Xian wasn't easy, but Yimo didn't dare to use Windblade and Fireball now. He could only look for his chance and use the Windblade at that time. The moment he used it and failed, Daoist Xian would be wary. He wouldn't even think about Fireball, since it would only be a waste of his kai. With this Daoist's agility, there was no way his Fireball could land. The weakness of the Fireball was exposed in such a battle. If Yimo was in Foundation establishment, then he could casually use Fireballs, and perhaps this Daoist Xian would be gone with one Fireball. However, he was only stage 3 kai gathering. Perhaps before he even used his second Fireball, that whip would come. With Daoist Xian's experience, it was very easy to see the weakness of his Fireball. "Young man, you're very good. No wonder my 2 disciples would die to you. But if that's all you got, then don't even bother asking about the hidden sects. Go die with my 2 disciples. Then, Daoist Xian didn't even wait for Yimo to catch his breath before his whip turned into a black shadow striking towards Yimo's waist. Yimo just struck away Daoist Xian's whip and his hand was still hurting. He knew that this whip wasn't made from ordinary material. Just as Yimo expected, Daoist Xian's whip was made from a weapon-making sect. This whip was an attacking magical artifact. Looking at Daoist Xian's whip looming over, Yimo frowned. He thought that he should prepare a weapon for himself. Otherwise, he would be fine with ordinary people, but against this Daoist or someone similar to him, he was at a disadvantage. Bang! Bang! Yimo's fists struck the whip. Although his spirit sense was strong, this Daoist Xian's movements were extremely rapid. As soon as Yimo knew where the whip would come, it had already come. Seeing Yimo deflect his whip for the second time, Daoist Xian sneered. He also saw Yimo's disadvantage and he didn't believe that Yimo had more inner kai than his decades of training. When Daoist Xian's second whip was stopped by Yimo, he didn't even pull the whip back. The whip turned in mid-air and attacked for the 3rd time. It seemed to Yimo there was only one whip shadow, but luckily Yimo had spirit sense. Although the use of spirit sense was very little when fighting with someone like Daoist Xian, it still had some use. Before this whip even hit Yimo, there was a searing feeling coming from it. Yimo's spirit sense had noticed that this whip was thicker than the other 2. Yimo immediately knew this was Daoist Xian's killing blow and focused. The feeling this whip gave Yimo was that the center of weight wasn't at the middle of the whip but at the handle. If he attacked the middle of the whip like he did before, he would be helping Daoist Xian to make the whip attack himself with greater power. In that case, it would be like fighting with himself and Daoist Xian. Yimo's eyes grew cold. This Daoist Xian was so sinister. If he didn't have spirit sense, perhaps he would have fallen into the trap. Once he was hit by such a powerful whip, he couldn't even think how he was going to take on the next attack. Luckily, although he was a Dao cultivator, he didn't drop his martial arts. He could even use his chi into martial arts. Otherwise, he would lose with just his stage 3 kai gathering. When the searing whip came, Yimo suddenly struck out his fist towards the middle of the whip. Daoist Xian's eyes were filled with joy. There was contempt at the corner of his mouth, and he thought no matter how strong Yimo was, he was still going to drink his piss. But suddenly, he felt something wasn't right. Although Yimo struck his whip, he didn't feel anything on it. Or perhaps, Yimo's hand didn't even touch his whip. What was this? Daoistzian wouldn't believe that Yimo could tell where the force of his whip was at. He was already half a step into Earth level. Not even an Earth level fighter would be sure to tell where the power of his whip was, so how could Yimo see it? But what made him more shocked happened. Yimo suddenly disappeared into thin air. Daoistzian was very confident in his whip. He sealed all of Yimo's escape routes, forcing Yimo to clash with him, so how could Yimo disappear? Then, immediately after, Daoistzian found Yimo. He seemed to have used something to go invisible, but Yimo couldn't hide his inner chi waves from him. In that moment of hesitation, Daoistzian's whip slowed a little, and just at that point in time, Yimo had grabbed the handle of the whip. Suicidal. Daoistzian sneered. He didn't know how Yimo found out, but even if he did, grabbing the handle of the whip was suicide. Just when Daoistzian wanted to use more inner chi as he kicked towards Yimo, he felt a certain coldness. Amongst the heat of his searing whip, there was a sudden gust of coldness that made him shiver. He had fought countless people and knew that any bad premonition could make him lose his life. Daoistzian was a careful person and could no longer care about Yimo. He wanted to retreat as soon as possible. But then immediately, his two legs felt cold. Not good. Daoistzian immediately knew he was struck by some projectile. What was it though? Even he couldn't notice it. Even if he couldn't block ordinary projectile, he could still feel it. However, the projectile this young man used today wasn't something he could notice. He only felt some coldness on his leg. Drop. Daoistzian suddenly lost his balance and fell to his ground. What made his heart shiver was that he found both his legs were cut off by something sharp and fell aside far away. Under such shock and anger, Daoistzian's hand loosened, and his whip fell into Yimo's hands. Yimo took a careful look at the whip. It was indeed not bad, even the materials were good, and he couldn't tell what it was made from. Daoistzian quickly stopped the bleeding in fear. Even now, he still didn't know what Yimo used to cut off his legs. Yimo looked at his hand from which a layer of skin came off. Blood even seeped out of it. He casually put away the whip, looked at Daoistzian and said, "You're very strong, the strongest opponent I have faced. You're not the one who injured me the most, but you're not bad. What projectile did you use? And where did you put the whip?" Daoistzian had regained his composure. Yimo sneered. "You still have the mood to care about that. Let's talk about where you planted my silver heartgrass, so I won't get angry." Daoistzian didn't expect that despite him having the upper hand, he somehow had his legs severed in the turn of an eye, and he was now someone so vulnerable. Daoistzian had regained his calm and knew that he had no way out of this young man's hands. After staying silent for a while, he calmly said, "If the moment I felt that coldness I jumped up or took the whip back to defend, your projectile wouldn't be able to reach me." Yimo smiled plainly and said, "Indeed, that way, I wouldn't be able to hit you. Then why didn't you use your projectile to hit my arms? Even if I took the whip back, wouldn't you have much greater chance of cutting my hands off?" Daoistzian was full of regret. He didn't think that frosty wind would be so scary. If Yimo just used that frosty wind projectile to hit his arms, although he would lose one arm, he would probably have greater chance of surviving. "Because I don't want you to go, as long as you can't move, it would be easier for me to kill you." Yimo didn't originally expect his wind blade to be able to cut off Daoistzian's legs. He just wanted Daoistzian's legs to be injured so his fireball would be effective. He didn't expect that this Daoistzian didn't even take back his whip to block the wind blade. Then, Yimo used a fireball which struck Daoistzian's broken legs. Under the fire, it immediately turned into nothingness. Seeing Yimo could use a fireball so easily, Daoistzian's face was now full of extreme terror. He didn't feel such terror when he knew he was going to die. After a moment, he said, "Just who are you?" Rate translation quality no comments. Be the first. Google tag. CMD push, function, Google tag. Display, chapter ad 165. Daoistzian finally understood why Yimo cut off his legs first. If his legs were fine, then that fireball wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Daoist Xian finally understood why Yimo cut off his legs first. If his legs were fine, then that fireball wouldn't be able to do anything to him. You don't need to know who I am. I said you shouldn't have taken my things. Since you did, then don't blame me. Then, another fireball rose out of Yimo's hand from nothing. You can create fireball from air, you. Daoist Xian had already forgotten the pain and fear. He was still making guess about Yimo using fireball just then, but now, he was sure. Yimo really could make fireball from air. He finally saw something in the legends. Funny thing was he actually wanted to fight such a person. Seeing Yimo's fireball hit towards him, Daoist Xian finally understood his situation and quickly said, "Hold up, don't you want your silver heart grass?" Yimo never planned on killing Daoist Xian now. He knew that if he didn't bring out something that made Daoist Xian fear, then he wouldn't surrender. Now that Daoist Xian brought it up, he thought for a while before saying, "I do care about the silver heart grass, and where did you see the space abyssal rock?" Daoist Xian quickly responded, "As long as you will let me go, I will tell you." "No need, you don't have the right to bargain with me." Then, Yimo quickly walked up in front of Daoist Xian and patted on his head. Yimo thought that now that Daoist Xian was subjugated by him, it should be fine to control his mind. But as soon as Yimo finishing patting, Daoist Xian hummed and died. He didn't expect Daoist Xian to be so resolute in not giving Yimo any chance to ask and directly shattered his aorta. Luckily, Yimo asked some news first. Otherwise, he still wouldn't know anything. He would have wasted his time on waiting for Daoist Xian. He didn't care about Daoist Xian's life but cared what he could get from him. He searched out a card and small plate from Daoist Xian. He didn't know what it was made from, but it wrote black capital in ancient characters. Yimo raised his hand and burned Daoist Xian with a fireball before driving back. Yu Miaodan had become used to the plain and calm life at Yimo's place. Despite Yimo telling her that Metal River was no more in Luokang, she didn't want to leave and instead focused on learning medicine with Lu Xiaozhen and Yu Erhu. Of course, Yimo wouldn't tell her to leave if she didn't want to leave. Plus, one extra person was one extra help. Outside Yimo's mansion, there was 4 acres of barren land. Yimo wanted to buy that so he could plant some herbs and make his mansion's area larger. Although the place Yimo was living at was close to the rural area, it wasn't cheap. Yimo didn't have that much money now. He only had 200k in his hand and the remaining 200k from Lu Xiaozhen. There was not even 400k altogether. The price of that land might cost a few million, so perhaps he would even need connections to be able to buy it. The main source of Yimo's income now was the online clinic. Although it had started, but there was not a single registered user. The reason was simple. Too few people knew of this clinic and the registration price was too expensive. Yimo gave the money to Yu Erhu and told him to buy large amounts of precious medical herbs. Although he couldn't concoct pills now, he could still make some soup and medical pills. A week later, Luokang was quiet, and Metal River seemed to have disappeared. No one cared about it either. Yimo also made a number of different types of medical pills and soup. Because there was no news from the online clinic, Yimo prepared to go to Hong Kong first. He didn't feel secure leaving his silver heart grass there. It would be better in his own mansion. And, when he came back from Hong Kong, he would need to go to Flowing Snake. After all, he promised Fang Nan. It wouldn't be good if he kept delaying it. Plus, it was due to him that Fang Nan was at that state. Just when he made arrangements and was prepared to leave Luokang, Lu Xiaozhen came rushing in. "Master, someone had registered on our website, and there are 2 of them. They applied for the waiting list." Yimo also felt joy after hearing that. He was short on money, and he was considering if he should sell a few defense talismans when someone suddenly registered. Each time there was a registration, it would be 10k, and application for waiting list was 100k. It could be said that those who dared to register on his website was definitely someone rich. It was because they could be cheated and was unable get their money back. "What is the described condition?" Yimo asked. Lu Xiaozhen dejectedly said, "One is a vegetable person for 2 years in Hong Kong, and they also said if you went to Hong Kong, they would pay multiple fees. The other one is even further away, In America. They also need you to go over there. The condition is whole body has soft bones. Normally, Emo would have rejected it straight away. Running to Hong Kong to treat a vegetable, he didn't want to earn that hard money, but now, it was convenient. He was going to Hong Kong, so he didn't mind earning this money. Okay, immediately get the Hong Kong patient's address. Allow him to be on the waiting list. As for the America one, reject the waiting list, do not refund the registration fee, Emo said. Lu Xiaozhen hesitated for a while before saying, Master, this is a vegetable, you. Emo smiled. Don't worry, help me do the procedures to get to Hong Kong, the faster the better, doesn't matter if we pay a little extra. Vegetable people usually weren't serious. He didn't even need to go himself. It would be fine if he just brought a charm. For Emo, it wasn't hard at all. It would only be troublesome if it wasn't a normal vegetable. Lu Xiaozhen admired Emo so much that she almost worshipped him. Since Emo said it was fine, then she believed it would be fine. She immediately permitted the Hong Kong patient and rejected the American patient while telling the American patient if treatment is needed, he needed to get to the appointed place. Lu Xiaozhen was very fast and clean in doing these procedures after staying a few years in Luokang. She only took 3 days to do something that would take 2 weeks. However, Emo would be going with a tourism company to Hong Kong. Hong Kong, Ching Quan Bay. Although the scenery here was good, the region near the mountain was private property. Outsiders could only see the view from afar and was not allowed in. Meanwhile, the most grandiloquent mansion wasn't the mansion on the mountain waste, but instead the temple behind the mansion. This mansion was extremely grandiose whether it was outside or inside. There were 4 big men standing at the door of the temple. At the moment, there were 4 people inside the temple, and one of them was on the bed unconscious. This man looked like he was in his 50s. His face was very skinny, and it had this unhealthy yellow to it. Other than the man laying down, there was 3 other people. One was a middle-aged man and had a very heavy expression on his face. Beside the man was a woman less than 30. If this woman wasn't frowning, she would definitely be beautiful. However, her eye lines seemed oppressive. If her eye lines were a bit more soft, perhaps she would be every man's dream. The last man was obviously a subordinate and stood straight behind the middle-aged man. There was a grandiloquent mansion, but it was unknown why the patient was lying in the temple, and the temple was built even more extravagantly than the mansion. Luo Chen, what did that website that say they can cure any disease say? At this moment, that man suddenly spoke. Boss, that website agreed to put us on the waiting list and I have paid the 100k waiting list fee, the man beside him immediately said. Did they ask about anything else? The middle-aged man continued to ask. No boss, they just made us pay 100k and said they will send people over, and there was no more news, Luo Chen immediately said. Oh. Then man asking the question had extreme disappointment in his eyes. He believed this website was a fraud. They just asked and knew the patient was a vegetable and took the money. They didn't even ask how the patient got the disease and what the symptoms were. Now, they didn't even ask about anything. If this wasn't a fraud website, what was? 100k was nothing, but another hope was lost. However, Luo Chen hesitated before saying, the waiting list we applied for in America was rejected. They told us the doctor wouldn't go America, if we wanted treatment, we would have to go to the appointed place. There's such things. The middle-aged man immediately focused his attention again. Since that website rejected to go to America for treatment, then it meant that they really might not be fraudulent. That woman, however, immediately continued, did they say when they would come to Hong Kong? They didn't say exact time, but they said within 10 days, they would definitely get to Hong Kong, Luo Chen immediately replied. The middle-aged man nodded and said, Luo Chen, this region has been chaotic recently, bring some people and make some arrangements, don't let the doctors from mainland be attacked. Yes, boss, Luo Chen replied and left the temple. Rate translation quality 2 comments join in Google tag. CMD push, function, Google tag. Display, chapter ad 166. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.